And as if the OR action couldn't stop, ladies and gentlemen, North American Sprint is back here tonight. We got two splits for you this evening, blue and red here at Paul Ricard. Hello everybody, my name is Nick Amon, and I want to welcome you all back to another broadcast. Second time I'm doing this today. I was here earlier for EU, and let me tell you something, we had quite a lot of action from those lads over there across the pond. Welcome everybody in, JC. Of course, we have to have OR's #1 commentator from the land down under, of course. Thank you for joining us, Flying Wombat. Thank you for popping in. How you guys doing? How was your Thursday or Friday, depending on where your calendar sits? But yeah, we got two splits, and we have got quite a lot of action coming up. This is obviously at North American Blue. And let me tell you something, we have quite a large grid. 33 drivers in total is what North American Blue is going to be boasting for us this season. We did only have, it appears as though, 31 of the 33 marked. So that is a very good turnout. We still have a little bit of time before quali starts, so I'm sure we'll be seeing those drivers joining us soon enough. But of those 33 drivers here in North America, we have got 15 new faces on the grid. One of them is actually the car we just switched to, William No, racing in the Porsche here, his first season in the Sprint. Always glad to see him. And we also have drivers such as Graves, Tazaro, Vasquez. Actually, I think it might have been here. I might have been wrong. Raulu, Flores, Radicuno, Campbell, Toribio, Hansen. We have two brothers here. We have the Guzman brothers, who are not in the server at the moment. So we have the Zenaker brothers across in Europe. We have the Guzman brothers here in North America. Moffat, Moore, Baxter are the rest of those new drivers here. A lot of returning faces, of course. We have the #2 rated driver overall joining us here this evening, if I can find him. I was going so well. I was doing so well. It's Skylar Loverink. The reason why I say #2 and not #1 is because your champion last season, Hamza Golzar, will be in the split later on tonight over in red, so we'll get to see him. But yeah, Skylar Loverink here, second place in season 11. Thought he just joined. He didn't. Your Pro-Am champion, though, Jonathan Clifford, if I'm not mistaken, is not here yet. It's always the first race of the season. Always a little tricky for people to get the timing right, but we'll get that sorted out. Don't worry. But yes, Clifford is back. Loverink is back. Loverink in the BMW. Little change of pace. Clifford, of course, remains in the Lamborghini. He doesn't drive anything else. If he's got it down pat, he's got it down pat. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the amateur class second place driver, Sam Raworth, is here, remains in the Porsche. Now, the thing with Mr. Raworth, we can pan on over to him in the pink porker machine, is he'll be joining us later tonight in the North American Red Split race. And Skylar Loverink, your returning your second place driver in the BMW. Sleek little livery, nothing crazy. But speaking of liveries, I want to take a quick peek and see what's rocking with Kenneth Portis, the Roto Grip racing machine. Now, one thing I would like to do is I'd like to give a huge shout out to Glenn Germain. In past seasons when we had custom liveries, what you had to do was we would get a zip file every week of all the new liveries, and I'd have to go through the agonizing and back-breaking process of moving all of those files into the two folders they need to be in. And what Glenn did was he said, all right, that's cool, that's enough. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little tool for us, and all I got to do is just hit sync now, and it just downloads the skins for me. Life is simple, and I love it. Justin Muffat here. Nice, sleek, simple livery for the Mercedes. You don't have to go all out, of course. You can keep it simple. Who else we got? Renato Dornelis, this man in the Mercedes. Same sort of color scheme he's been running all the time. Good old vacuum racing. Good to see him back, of course. We'll see what he can do again this season. Michael Landry getting a little aggressive there with the livery for the Porsche. There is just something I love about that. You know, it looks a little torn, a little battered. Not to say that it's battered, but, you know, just sort of mess of color looks great. Timothy Flomger, Alpha Sim Sport. We have a lot of drivers with Alpha Sim Sport liveries. I wonder why that is. Michael Carpenter. Austin Carpenter in a pink Lane Porsche. Cameron Sansano in the nice, mighty Speedy Might Racing Audi. Ben Keogh joining us here for another season. I like that sort of ocean-y vibe it's got. I don't know if that's just me. Frederick Boisvert, another returning phase here for Average Joe's Racing, and an Average Joe looking McLaren. I respect it. Thomas Dag, Luigi Autosport, and I believe on the back bumper there is a Luigi. I do want to check because he did talk about it. I saw a picture of it. We need to check to see if there is a Luigi. There's no Luigi. My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. I swear I saw it. I'm not crazy. I promise you. Who else do we have? We've got Dan Tesaro, a new driver here joining us from across the pond over in the UK. Good to see him. It didn't load. Darn. But a very nice looking livery, black and orange. I'm kind of a sucker for that, I'll be completely honest. Marco Vasquez, of course, new driver. I dig the purple. It looks really good. William No, we saw his car earlier. Chris Frizza. I'm going to turn off autopilot so we can actually see everything. Ah, what a livery. That looks a little messed up. Or maybe it's not. But a very familiar livery at the very least. Louis Campbell, a new driver here in the Sprint Series. Solid shiny red. Horatio Flores joining us. Zimbabwe? No, that's not Zimbabwe. What am I thinking of? Oh, I should know these. Either way, livery's looking good. Tori Bio, you can just see him in the McLaren there. I hope all my liveries are loaded. That's the worst part. Ron Radakun, another debutant here. Austin Baxter. Actually, is that the car itself? That must be. I love how these pit cameras just don't work. But it looks very, very good. Looks like something you'd see like right out of the 80s. Sam Raworth, we saw him earlier, of course. Justin Moffat, we looked at him earlier. The safety car, I'll show you guys that in a little bit. Wilson Fernandez. It's a running vacuum. I'm starting to wonder how many of the liveries I actually have on paper. Benjamin Habe, another familiar face here in North American Sprint. Ben Keogh, saw him earlier. Matteo Voisin joining us from France. Not to brag or anything, but I am taking French class. And I really do hate the language sometimes because they don't pronounce like half the letters. But anyways, I digress. Home race for the Frenchman. Skylar Lovering we saw earlier. Carlos Guzman. We have one of the Guzman brothers here in a very sleek-looking pink Mercedes. Jonathan Clifford. There he is, your Pro-Am defending champion. Switching the colors a little bit. I think he was running black and blue last season. Now he's running some, looks like silver. And then Lee Moore, the last of the new drivers here for North American Blue. Nice little cream white colored Mercedes, and welcoming in, of course, the man, the myth, the meme himself, Mr. Neil Mullick Alexander. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Mull. We appreciate you as always. Hopefully things are going well down there. I know it's getting a little bit warm in the southern hemisphere. Don't worry, it is going to be excruciatingly cold. We are going to hit negatives, and that's Fahrenheit negatives, tomorrow. I will be amazed if my car even starts. But while we have the time here, we're going to take a quick look at the schedule for this season if you haven't already. So obviously we're starting here at Paul Ricard with a super sprint. And then after that, we're going to be at Bathurst for what is considered a non-competition round. I'll get into some of the explanations of these formats in due time. Don't worry. After that, Brands Hatch, Misano, Snetterton, Suzuka, Imola. And then we have Donington Park, Hungary, and Barcelona. Now, those last three I just listed, those are the finals. Not too certain if we are going to have those in North America. We might not. Who knows? But, yes, today is the Super Sprint, so we'll talk about that for the new viewers here in the OR if you're not familiar. Super Sprint format has a double race weekend, if you want to call it that. So we have the first race, which is a 20-minute sprint, sort of like your standard pub lobby, minus the guy who doesn't brake for turn one. And that is very hectic. It's very chaotic. It's a lot of fun. If you watched the broadcast earlier for Europe, you'll have seen exactly what I've meant. If not, hey, it's right there. It's on the channel. Just go to the past broadcast. You'll find it. You'll also find the same sort of stuff with the AP races that we ran. But the 20-minute race will actually set us up for the following race, which will be a 40-minute endeavor. And the way it works is you go through this first race. Your top 12 are going to get reverse grid ordered for that second race. So first becomes 12th, second is 11th, third is 10th, so on until everyone's been swapped around. Everyone 13th and below is going to head on out there, and they're going to have about 6 minutes to set a lap, and that'll get the grid sorted out. And when we get to the start procedures, we'll have the safety car pull away, and the race director will call the reverse grid order drivers by their numbers, and they'll go out, and once they're all lined up with the safety car, everybody else gets to follow suit. But we'll worry about that when we get to it. But next week, Bathurst, I said it'll be that non-competition round. They are completely optional. There's no points. They're just sort of fun. But speaking of Bathurst, we do have our 12 hours of Bathurst race coming up for the Endurance Series. I believe it was something like 46 teams, something like that. There's a lot of cars on the grid. That's what I heard. But we got that coming up in due time. But again, that's sort of optional. There's no points. Just, I guess you could say, for fun. And then with the race at Misano, that is a mini enduro. That's going to be an hour and a half. So if you thought an hour is bad, you might want to just throw on a little bit more time. Good evening to you, Keith Briscoe. Welcome in. How you doing, my boy? But right now, Cameron Sansano will be the driver we sit with, as he was the first one out of the pit, really just starting early with just how much he's pushing that Audi. You notice that drivers kind of sit in one of two camps. They either go out there and send it till it breaks, or they get reserved. It looks like Sansano was one of those drivers that just says, I'm going to send it. To answer your question, Keith, no, I haven't upgraded my PC at all. I think the newest addition I got was a Stream Deck, and that was for Christmas, so no. But thank you. I have certain graphical presets depending on what I'm doing. So if I'm driving, I might turn the settings down a little bit so I can squeeze out some more frames, maybe a little more clarity. But if it's on the broadcast preset, which is entirely possible, then that's probably why it looks a little bit better. But no, I don't plan on upgrading my girl for at least another year. Oh god, it's already at that point. Future-proofed it 4 years. I'll have to upgrade again at some point, maybe. But yeah, Sansano will set us up for the pole time. Of course, still 6.5 minutes to go, so nothing will be set in stone. We'll see how everybody plays this. We are looking to have 30 cars on the grid here tonight. So we'll see what happens. EU race had about, I think, 27 or so, 26, 27. So a couple more cars on the grid, a couple more sets of tires, and we'll get going. But Sansano here around the final corner. We'll see what times he can put up. We saw very low 54s in EU Sprint. Oh, Kenneth Portis was actually the first one out. I'm not surprised. Oh, Kenneth. Never change. Portis 55.07. Sansano is at 56.025. But no, we saw some low 54s for EU, and that was on a green track. That was not on Optima. That was a green track. So it is going to be interesting to see if North America can do something. As Flomger 54.69. How do they say? Nice. Another familiar face to the top. Welcome in, Benjamin. Always a good time to upgrade. Yeah, I'm trying not to spend too much money. Doing a very bad job of it. Thomas Dag up into the top 3 there with a 55.54. Landry 55.6. And we got Skylar Loverank a 54.28. We could very easily see a 53. And I will put that above EU's head, even though they were on a green track. Pitwall is live for blue. Oh boy, I didn't even know that. I'll have to check that out later. Thank you for telling me, Moloch. I appreciate that, because I kind of maybe low-key possibly didn't forget that we had Pitwall. Whoops. But as long as it's working, it's working. And that is whatever. We got some new graphics, of course, here. Moved some things around. We had a HUD JSON file that I was given. That's why things look a little bit different from last season, but I am not complaining. I did not make a backup of the default one because I'm an idiot. Just sort of tossed it in there, didn't think twice. And then I had to remember. Renato Dornelis, though, 54,127, and I did not know that the little antennae on top of the Mercedes lights up. That makes me very happy. I like that a lot. Because it's pink. Good stuff. Oh, because it's probably the auxiliary lights. Look at me go. I'm learning. But right now, Dornelis, Portis, Loverank, your top 3. Clifford, Flumger into that top 5. Jonathan Clifford has been moved up to the pro category. When he first came in, you know, he was maybe a hesitant little amateur, and he has been making a name for himself in North American Sprint, improving season after season after season, and it has been absolutely amazing to watch. And up into pro, I'm not surprised. We'll see what he can do this season. Maybe a fight for the title at pro. We'll have to wait and see, but he's got to get through Dornelis and Portis and Loverank, Flomger as well. Very fast drivers. It's going to be a stacked grid, I must say. But everybody's sort of filing through. Fernandez in 6th with that 54.85. Tesaro 55.25, a 55.26 for Keogh, 55.28 for Dag. Boisvert moves on up into that P7, moves a couple of those drivers down to 55.052 for the Canadian. The home field, though, for Voisin, only enough for 18th at the moment. Sorry, 19th, 57.33. The Mercedes has 20 different auxiliary light options. I'm jealous as a disgusting Honda driver, or McLaren, depending on what I'm feeling. Either way, we continue on with qualifying. Just about 2.5 to go here, and this grid is getting stacked. Jose Guzman, another debutant here in the Sprint Series from Brazil. I do not see... Oh, I do. Carlos Guzman. Both of them in the Mercedes. So this is not the first time we've seen brothers battling it out in the Sprint Series. If you remember to the EU Sprint, the Zeneker brothers, they are not racing at the moment. We're hopefully going to be seeing them later on in the season, but it's always nice to have a little sibling rivalry here in the OOR. I know if my brother and I raced, it would be interesting, to say the least. But yeah, some good little sibling work right now. Jose down in P29, and Carlos up into 17th. Watch them not be... Oh, I must have been mixing up their nationalities. I am so sorry. I was clicking on someone else. I was thinking outside the box. But it's still... Never mind, it's Loverank. Loverank has broken into the 53s. 53.84. Not like a 53.99. He's going to go a little bit below that. 53.84. That is an incredible time. Renato Dornelis, I don't know if he can really match that. He's not improving. He's actually down at the moment. Loverank's parked it up. He's got everything he needs. He doesn't have to worry. He knows that his time is going to be extremely difficult. Dornelis is going to get one more crack at this, so we'll leave him be. Don't put too much pressure on him. We're going to put some pressure on Carpenter, though. Did he just slide? I'm so sorry, Austin. He was on like a 6/10 improvement, too. Oh, I feel so bad. If anyone tells you Caster Curse isn't real, they're lying. It is extremely real. I can confirm. I have done it, not just here, but elsewhere. Pitol right now has not set a time, but he's going to get back with just 5 or so seconds to spare. It hasn't counted a 56.14. That would have put him, looks like P16. So he's got one more chance at this. We'll see if he can sort himself out. We're going to hop back over to, we'll see who's closing the end of their lap. We got a lot of drivers sort of just starting. Oh, here we go. Michael Landry Oh, that looks, it's cel-shaded. It's like Borderlands. It's the Borderlands car, guys. And it looks like Landry is done a little bit wide. And Boisvert, just as we get to him, looks like a little bit of Tokyo Drift. Yeah, that half-second improvement he had is gone, done, dusted, and donezo. Unfortunate for him. Is there anybody else out on track? It's Pitol, Dornelis. We'll ride here with Dan. Tesaro, new driver in the BMW. Currently sits 11th, a 55.25. This improvement could put him into the 54s. Would be a nice way to start his OOR career with a top 10 starting position. And ahead of him is Dornelis. So we'll see where the Brazilian ends up. As he crosses the line, he improves to a 53.9, but it's not enough to overtake Tesaro into that top 10 with the 154.87. Very solid from him, and it's just Fabio Pitol we have to worry about right now. He is the last driver out on the grid. There's a couple of others who are just finishing up a lap. Austin Baxter, a new driver here, decides to pull into the pits. He is done. Wilson Fernandez is done as well. Pitol is 32nd, moves up to 16th there, right at the line. And what a great start for him. And while we wait for the countdown, ladies and gentlemen, of course, quick shout out to Simrigs. Thank you again to them for sponsoring Season 12 of the Sprint Series. If you're looking to upgrade your gear, whatever it may be, Simrigs has got you covered. These beautiful, beautiful people down in Melbourne, servicing all of Australia and New Zealand. And if you're like me and you live somewhere else in the world, well, if you send them an email, I think they'd be more than happy to do some business with you. And if you're an OR Patreon member, make sure that you use that 5% discount when you make your purchases. Sim racing equipment is not cheap by any means. And, well, Simrigs is here to help you out. So, again, thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 12, as always. But back out onto the grid we go as we get ready to get some action going. We're going to do one of my favorite things that I will never get tired of, and that is, of course, the grid walk, and looking at all of these amazing cars. We blank out the HUD. You guys don't need to see those times. You just want to see the cars. Come on, I know you guys a little too well. So we look down the grid. 31, 32 drivers on display here. Landry on pole. Or sorry, not Landry. Hovering on pole. Dornelis, Portis, Clifford in 5th position, of course. 5 and 6, Boisvert, Flomger, names we all know. And then we get to Landry. Pardon me. Keogh and Fernandez, 2 other drivers we're very familiar with here in North American Sprint. Dan Tesaro, new addition, makes it into that top 10, albeit just barely. Thomas Dagg right behind him. Austin Carpenter and Chris Frizza are going to also be on this grid just beyond the fold. Cameron Sansano, William No, new driver with a very nice looking Amazon livery. I'm sure Amazon would love to sponsor us. Who knows? Pitol, Vasquez, Carlos Guzman, Benjamin Habe, Mateo Voisin, Ike Raulu. That is going to be 17th all the way down to 21st. Moffat, Campbell, Flores, Jose Guzman, Jesse Torbio, Baxter Moore, Sam Raworth, and Ron Radicanu. As we get towards the tail end of the grid. And hey, let's look at the safety car. We've skipped from Chevrolet and we have gone straight to BMW. And a very sleek livery. We no longer look like a football. And that is the American football. Of course, we now look like a proper safety car. It's always beautiful. And you never know who's in the driver's seat because, well, it's like a mascot. You just don't talk about it. But that is the starting grid here for North American Blue Split. We got some people moving, and I think that safety car is going to be rolling out. Hopefully we don't have the same issue that we had in EU, where the safety car driver forgot to do something, and we ended up waiting for, well, that to get sorted out before we went in. But the safety car you saw peeling away, and the rest of these drivers, of course, will be following suit in just a moment, waiting for those in front to get a move on so we can get the race going, and we are doing just that. These drivers are ready, and hopefully you guys are too, for another exciting season here of Octane Online Racing Sprint. And I cannot begin to tell you how long I have waited for the season to return. As much as I've liked my break, as much as I have enjoyed my break, I do miss the Sprint Series. Will not lie, it has been amazing. But livery will start it off here on pole. We're gonna see who draws first blood. We saw back-to-back wins for Rumbouts in EU. So we'll see if livery can maybe mirror that, or if it could be someone else. Dornelis, Portis. I would even put Clifford up there for a race win to start us off. Basically that top 5 is incredibly close. Very skilled drivers, and they are not here to mess around. They've raced with each other for several seasons, so they aren't new to each other, but I'm sure they have some tricks up their sleeves that they don't want anyone else to see just yet. Down the back straight, when we get here, it is going to be 24 seconds of just holding the throttle. So if you've ever wondered what it was like to maybe drive a NASCAR at Daytona, well, Paul Ricard is about as close as you're going to get without maybe downloading Assetto Corsa or other games I'm not going to mention because they don't have the same title, and there's probably some weird obscure rule that bars me from saying such things. But here we are. See all the cars weaving, trying to get some heat into those tires just before this race goes off. It is optimum. It is clear skies. 19 ambient, 22 trackside. Let me tell you something. I don't know exactly how much 19 is in Fahrenheit, but I can tell you for one thing, I'd love to have that right about now, because I'm going to get up tomorrow and pray that my car starts. Because it's going to be like 25, I think, the high. It's not gonna be warm tomorrow, not by any stretch. It's gonna suck. And then like it's just gonna go right back up, because why would we have extended cold weather? Yes, your other favorite, yes, redacted, the best one. That's the SCP Foundation one, I believe. But ladies and gentlemen, we are lined up 2 by 2. Safety car peeled away. Did not do this in EU. The safety car was chilling with the pack pretty much up until the start line, but North American Sprint, we're a little bit more classy. We're a little bit more chaotic in that. We don't need no stinking safety car to tell us how to do anything. We'll keep things moving and grooving. Who knows? Warmer than the 12 degrees, see we have here in Melbourne. Oh yeah, how is summer going for you guys? I'm sure it's been a lot of fun. But ladies and gentlemen, speaking of fun, North American blue split here. Race number 1 at Paul Ricard. It's livery on pole. Dornelis, Portis, Clifford, boys right your top 5. Flomger, Landry, Keogh, Fernandez, Tesaro. The next 5 down. It's green, green, green. It's going to be an excellent getaway there from the pole sitter. And Dornelis is having a little bit of issues now with Portis pulling up. And I don't think livery's BMW has the same sort of acceleration that we're experiencing from some of these other cars. Down to turn 1 we go. We see 3 wide, 4 wide in the background for just a moment. Everybody's keeping it neat and tidy though through that first corner. A little bit of contact there between the BMW and the Porsche through turn 1. livery turning on the jets and getting the heck out of Dodge. Look at the gap he's already pulled. We're going to look out the back end of the BMW, and you can see it's a close running Dornelis, but that is just through the corners. As we continue on towards the backstretch now, this might be where the BMW struggles a little bit. We've got some carnage in the background. Hold on. I think we had somebody spun around. I saw pink. I saw a big pink stink, and I think I might have been thinking a little incorrectly. And now the backstretch. This is the fun part of the race, where we just get to see cars moving on and on and on. There is the Boisvert. And I believe that is Flomger. Yes, it is, doing a little bit of battling. We've got a 3-pack forming right now. Fernandez, Landry, Tesaro. Tesaro doing a very good job here, despite the first time here in Sprint. Already making a name for himself out wide. I believe that was Habe. just dipping outside of track limits. This is the one track where we do see a lot of track cut penalties getting handed out, simply because, well, it's just so easy to do it. But down the inside, Landry maintaining P9. A clean start for North America. Not going to say I'm too surprised. We're just that good. Guzman getting a little bit loosey-goosey. Managed to keep the Mercedes pointed in a productive direction, as I always deem it. But on to the front straight. Once again, Lovering, Dornelis, Portis, Clifford, Keogh, your top 5 boys are Flomger, Tazaro gaining a couple positions over Landry, Fernandez, 8, 9 through 10. For them, everyone else following suit. It is going to just all kick off here. Speaking of getting kicked off, that cone kicked to another zip code. Same with the bollards. We do see just a lot of these little packs sort of forming. Flomger with Boisvert still beside him. There's Tazaro looking to see what he can gain, if anything. We'll look out the back end there of Flomger's car. You're sitting right there on that back wing, hopefully not causing too much of a disturbance. Landry's pulled up along with Fernandez, and the Briton there getting battered, and it is going to be Landry taking himself out right away. So for Tazaro, that BMW holds true and stays planted. The Porsche, a car that is memed on for just spinning itself out, we'll just say it's that. Fernandez and Tazaro, the battle for 8th. Door to door down the back end. You can see just that train of cars behind, and I believe that's No and Guzman battling out for position. And it is the Canadian getting the better there of Guzman. Pulls up into P13. Background driver is just running it out wide. That is the one part of the track. Whoa! Speaking of out wide, that is no way you want to go. Oh, and in the background we've got another spin, I believe. Oh, that's Horatio Flores, one of the new drivers here in North America. And that is going from bad to worse. 19th down to 27th. That is rough. Lovering still maintaining the lead. 1.2 seconds is that gap. Fastest lap as well, 54.33. Not quite what we saw with his quali lap, but it's just about half a second up. So we'll see. Maybe he finds that extra pace later on in this race. Jonathan Clifford trying to hunt down Portis. Looks like who got a little bit tail happy. Kept it together though. You can see Dornelis doing what he can to try and catch up. Not really working out too well for him. Guzman under attack. Landry starting to lay down a little bit of pressure. No is in tow with Raulu and Jose Guzman. Also just lurking in the background, waiting to see what exactly they can pick up. Let's pop backwards a little bit. Voisin up into P22 right now. We've got this gaggle of cars going on. We'll look out the back. There it is. Vasquez, Baxter, and Raducanu just behind them. Actually, Vasquez might give us a really good indication of just the speed that's these drivers are hitting, and it's just to see how much this slipstream works. And just for the Porsche, it's just not enough. The Porsche not really known for its top end. The Ferrari, of course, it is going to be fast in a straight line. It is a Ferrari after all. Come on. But yeah, it's just there's not enough really there for Baxter to work with. If he can maintain the gap he has right now. Whoa, we have got both Porsches sliding out. Voisin and Baxter. I was about to say, if the gap can just stay what it is right now, then perhaps next lap Baxter can go for a move. But for now, Vasquez has a little bit of space to work with. Does Portis have enough to try and overtake Clifford? That's the question. Looks to the inside for just a moment. Decides not to. We carry on here at Paul Ricard. A track that personally I'm not a huge fan of, but Lee Moore hopping it over the curbs. And a move there on Raducanu. I mean, if it works and it's not outside track limits, go for it. Voisin picking up a drive-through already Like I said earlier, it's difficult to try to keep it inside the line sometimes, especially at Paul Ricard. But that's why I'm in the booth, so I don't have to drive it. Fabio Pitol just at the end of shot. This is what we're looking for. Just up ahead as well, you've got Raul Guzman, no, and I believe also Guzman. Yes, we do. So it's a goosey-looking sandwich there for no. Two Mercedes, two brothers, and two guys he probably doesn't want to be around right now. Got more coverage of the number 27 Axel Racing car. I don't see why not. I mean, Raul, is Raul in the picture? Sort of, kind of. Oh, and there's the, I believe that was Andy No, or Andy No. Whoa, I had a friend named Andy No. That's that's No going out wide. But Raul up into P16 right now, does have Guzman. Do we see some of that brotherly love coming out and pulling these two Mercedes away? Or will this very powerful Honda find some extra space to work with? Looks like it is. There is some extra drive under the wheels there. It is going to be Raul having to stick to the outside. A little switcheroo here, perhaps? Into the... No switchback just yet, although a much tighter line could compromise the exit, and it looks like it has. Jose Guzman gets the better of this and pulls ahead, although the slipstream coming into effect. Could there be room to go down the inside? Raul looks, but just sidesteps back into line. Doesn't want to go for it just yet. Wilson Fernandez here with Boisvert does get the move done. Pulls up into P7. That does give Tazaro a chance to also catch up. And then ahead, you see Clifford and Portis. Portis actually picking up fastest lap here, 54.28. Last lap for Lovering was a 54.57. That's 2/10 slower than Dornelis. Have to keep an eye on that, as they're only about 6/10 between them. We'll hop back here. Ike Raul, wow, really running that one out. Perhaps a little too far. Slipstream to no, and just behind them is Carpenter. We'll see. Does this move happen by the end? Raul sticking to what is the racing line. Gonna try to make it a little difficult for this move to get done. The two Guzman brothers just up ahead, having to cooperate a little bit, and yeah, Raul's just gonna let no through. Oh, a little bit of a wiggle there. Keeps it together enough to ensure that there's no contact. Job well done from both of these guys. Raul just barely ahead. Will keep this position. Does no look for something. There's a bump onto the Honda. Raul a little bit of drift action and keeps it together. Good save from him. And no is somehow also saving it. Wow, I'm sure the stewards will look at that one. However, I don't know if they're gonna feel roughly the same. What is going to be looked at right now is Jonathan Clifford having a lot on his plate right now. Kenneth Portis trying to run up on him. He had a chance there towards turn 1. It didn't happen. It just decides to sit back in P4 for right now. Just up ahead, we do see Loverink and Dornelis. That gap, Dornelis, you can just barely see him. There he is. There is Loverink. The camera angle on the Mercedes. Not one of my favorites, but always a good thing to see. We'll just do one of these. There you go. Better angle with the slipstream. Could this be enough to take it? That's the big question. Mercedes and BMW, not the two quickest cars on the grid, but right now, whoa, a little bit of a defensive maneuver there from Loverink to try and maintain a tighter line, but Dornelis, he's got all that slipstream, and there's nothing that could have been done there. The Brazilian promotes himself up into P1, but now he's got a hold that he's running it out wide. He opens that door on the inside, but it's a bit of a cutback here, and into the side of the BMW Dornelis. It was a calculated risk, but it looks like his math just didn't line up. There's Clifford spun around. What in the world happened there? Who is up at first? It's Portis. Portis finds himself in P1 after that, so everybody up front getting tangled. Keogh is up here. Dornelis redresses the position. probably smart, but I don't know if the stewards are really going to be all too keen about that one. And behind Tim Wilson, Fernandez. Could argue the sister car. So we'll see how things maybe turn out for that one. Timothy Flomger holding on to that final top 10 position. Michael Landry behind him. Two drivers we've seen quite a lot of here in North American Sprint over the last few seasons. And of course, always great to see them back. Same with a lot of these newer drivers. Always good to see some fresh faces here in the OOR. But this is the action we've been waiting for. Ben Keogh on track for a podium finish to start off his season. Lovering, despite being on pole position, he just gets bumped out by Dornelis. And, well, with a 3.5, almost 4-second gap to Portis. Ooh, excuse me. 4-second gap. I'm not too certain how well that's going to work out. Especially with just how much quicker the Honda is in a straight line comparatively. And on a track like Paul Ricard, it is a long, long time before you get to the end of this straight here. Keogh with the slipstream, but not close enough to make a move. Thinks better of it. Looks like for a moment he decided that he could have gone for it, but thought different of it. The two Guzman brothers, here we go, side by side down the back straight. It is the Porsche, though, that is ahead. Oh, that's Carpenter, actually. What happened to the other Guzman? Oh, he's up ahead, I believe. All right, I'm mixing up my cars. Don't worry. Once we get, like, a couple of races in, we'll be good to go. And I'll remember cars exactly. I'll be a pro at this. It's just a fun thing about OOR. It's all the new things that pop up. I just saw someone go into the pits. Oh, it was Lewis Campbell. Okay, I thought it was Portis that went into the pits. I'd be very, very surprised. Ben Keogh, he is not having a good time right now. You're riding on board with Dornelis in the Mercedes. Behind him, fellow Mercedes driver Wilson Fernandez. Two drivers I'm going to assume are on the same team. Dornelis slipstream looks for the inside line, doesn't get it. Looks like he might have spooked himself, actually. Does not get the best run there through the corner. You see Lovering trying to chip away at what Portis has. He's only got about 6 minutes to do so. I don't know how much time that's going to be. Slightly different break points. Keogh and Dornelis here as we get ready to head on the back straight. Woo, a little bit of a touch there almost. Onto the 33. This corner. An odd apex on the power as soon as you can. There we go. It continues once more. The slipstream train. It's like a race at Daytona back when you could have pack racing. If anyone remembers that, that was insane. This is where we're probably going to sit for a while. Flomger as well in a bit of a predicament. We'll see alongside. Dornelis goes on the inside of Keogh. Does get the move done. Fernandez almost going into the back of the Aston Martin there, but thankfully quick enough to keep that from derailing. And now, ooh, looked like the door opened up for a moment there. Fernandez could have gone through, but Keogh was there just long enough to keep it closed. Keogh drops a spot to Dornelis. Fernandez staying in 5th behind him. Boisvert and Tesaro. Michael Landry and Timothy Flomger as well battling for that final top 10 position. Just up ahead of them, Thomas Dagg, another familiar face in the OOR. And let's see what the gaps are. So, with the battle that was going on between Keogh and Dornelis, that's given Lovering about 1.5 seconds to play with here. And that is going to be exactly what he wants. Try to just focus on getting ahead, not really worrying about anyone behind. Let's check back here. Looks like 16th, 17th, 18th, Raulu, Pitol, no. They're all in this together. That Honda, though, does have a little bit more straight line speed. Let's ride along here with the Canadian. See what he can produce. P18 right now. Amazon Prime delivery. They're going to get you a finish here 2 days or less. And Yeah, the stadium packed. A lot of people, of course, here in Le Castellet. It's a very flat place, so they can just sort of walk, no problems. No hills or anything. They don't know what that's like. We hop back up. Uh-oh, we've got some problems here. Ben Keogh has not gotten the best first sector, and that's going to be a touch onto Dornelis. Do they keep it clean? They somehow keep the cars pointed in the right direction. Keogh holding on to P4 right now. It's going to be a little bit of an over-under there for Fernandez. It's not going to work just yet. He's going to be on the outside for the next corner. Another touch coming out of Keogh. I know that we like some stock car racing, but these things aren't as durable, at least in my experience. Keogh somehow keeping it together in P4, albeit barely behind them. It's Boisvert, Tesaro, and Clifford as well getting in on this. A little bit of an inside look there from the Brazilian, but it is not enough to spook Keogh. Keogh sticking to the inside. He knows what he has to do down into turn number 1. If he can just hold this line, he could be able to pull ahead. He does. Fernandez still looking for it, still hungry, doesn't want to give this up just yet. Boisvert is well in the hunt. It is getting close here around the outside. Fernandez is going to try. It'll be inside for the next corner, and somehow late braking makes it work and makes the apex for the next corner. My God, what an amazing move there from Fernandez. Ultimate bravery, kept it clean, not a lot of contact, and somehow hooked up the subsequent apex. That was incredible to watch. Jonathan Clifford, P8 right now, in the slipstream of Tesaro, down the back straight. There is going to be far more than enough for the Charging Bull to overtake. He could even line up a shot on the Boisvert here. Later on, a little 5-pack forming. It looks like Keogh isn't quite done yet. Clifford pulls ahead there of the Briton, keeps it going. He does have Boisvert in his sights behind them. Dag, Landry, and I think Flonger for just a moment might have a sniff at that if things can pan out the way he likes. Continuing on, Kenneth Portis has been just beating the ever-living out of the competition, but just a quick moment on that one. This is the place we're gonna be for a moment, although William No and Ike Raulu, P17 is not done, or P16 rather, isn't done being disputed. No gets ahead, and behind them, Patol. Last lap starting up. We just gotta pull away. Speaking of pulling away, Fernandez getting out of there. And it looks like this battle has actually sort of subsided a little bit. So we're going to hop back here right now, out the back of the Porsche. You can see the Honda of Raulu, the BMW of Pitol. This is P16 we're looking at. Trying, oh, what a run there out of... No, he's got some prime deliveries, or else Lord Bezos might just... send him to the Shadow Realm. There's Portis leaving screen. Lovering doing what he can to keep Dornelis at bay. He's just got one more lap to do it. Fernandez as well doing a very good job of pulling away after getting around Keogh. And if you're an Aston Martin in this situation, this is not what you want. Boisvert at a good distance back, a couple of car lengths, although with the slipstream could be enough to catch up. A little bit of a weave there from Keogh. Perhaps for his textile industry, who knows, but Boisvert is not going to worry about it. The inside line is Keogh's. Does he go for it? No, he doesn't. Boisvert stepping out there. Clifford as well, just staying there, lying in wait. Does not have to worry. Tesaro really running that one out wide. Keeping it together. This could come down to the last couple of corners. If Keogh isn't careful, he'll be on for that top 5 finish, of course. And that'll be the greatest way to start his first race. All these drivers, though, more than willing to gain a position. William, no. 15 seconds. Oh, no. That is not the penalty you want. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenneth Portis is going to start this season off on a high note. Takes race 1 here at Paul Ricard. Behind him, Skylar Lovering started on pole. Oh, no. Skylar got taken out by Dornelis there. Somehow loses P2. So Skylar Lovering P3, Wilson Fernandez P4, Keogh holds on for 5th. It's Boisvert, Clifford, Tesaro 6, 7, 8. Dag is in 9th. Landry 10th. Flomger 11th. 12th is Carpenter. Guzman 13th. Habe 14th, almost making contact. Carlos Guzman in 15th. William No. It's 15 seconds. How far down is this going to put him? Raulu will gain a position. Pitol will gain a position. I think Sansano might. If he's quick enough, he may be able to pick up a position. Toribio, I'm not quite certain. Might have to stick with 20th. Horatio Flores, number 18 McLaren, is going to have to settle for P21. And behind him is the Porsche there of Baxter. 2 debutants, 21, 22. Voisin, 23 for the Frenchman at his home race. Not the way you want to start it off, but that's what you're going to work with. Ron Raducanu into P24. Chris Frizza, a name that we're all very familiar with. Definitely not the race start he wanted. 25th for him. Lee Moore, whoa, there's a lot of damage there on the on that Mercedes. Not quite certain what happened there. Justin Moffat, Marco Vasquez, Sam Raworth in the pit lane after his race. Lewis Campbell, not the way he wanted to start things off, but Marco Vasquez across. P27. Yeah, it is the pit lane. There goes Moore. It's a little late for repairs, my friend, but you made it to the end. She's beaten, she's battered, she's bruised, but kept it together. But it is Kenneth Portis here, your race 1 winner, and now we just wait for things to switch on over. But Kenneth Portis, not too surprised at this man. He has done this week in and week out, season in, season out, and we are not even close to being done. And there we go. We've moved on. So, what will happen, of course, is we are going to have the drivers 13th and below head on out for their laps, and we do see the number 99 Audi of Sansano, first one out of the pit lane, so we'll ride with him, see how things happen. But yes, everybody who finished 13th and below will get 6 minutes to set a qualifying time before we go into this 40-minute race. Of course, the top 12 will get reverse grid, everyone will go after that, and we're going to see if we can get a straight line. We had it with EU, but the thing is the safety car pulled way, way, way up. Roughly to about, I think, here or so, if memory serves. My memory sometimes doesn't work. We had a straight line, but it was a curvy straight line, so we take those. Not the quote-unquote curvy straight lines that we usually see, but, you know, the drivers were one behind the other, and they were keeping it nice and tight to the line, so it works, right? You know, positives and all that. And we'll see if North American Sprint can do the same thing. Who knows? But a very solid race 1. 40 minutes of action ahead of us. And then we will hop on over and pick up North American Red Split. We'll go over the numbers for them when we get there. Yes, a curvy straight line. Listen, Simeon. I am a communications major. I am doing it because I don't want to do math. I barely made it through trigonometry. Actually, I didn't even take trigonometry. I took statistics. Why did I take statistics? Because I hated the teacher. That's why. I didn't like the trig teacher. But anyways, don't worry about that. But we'll see where this second qualifying session goes. Now, if you've got a certain driver that you're watching, whatever position they end up with at the end of qualifying, just add 12 onto it, and you're going to figure out where they start. I know we have some fans of a certain amateur class driver out there. And I already forgot who it was. No, I know who it was. It was the number 27 of Ike Rowley. So if you're looking at this driver, see where this one ends up. Well, I'm looking, see what that number is, and from there you just sort of, well, add 12. Stats don't lie, you're right, Rocky, and if OR is anything to go off of, the stats here don't lie. Got some very talented drivers as well out on every single grid. North America, EU, AP, everybody. We've got some incredibly talented drivers. I do want to see the day where we get the best drivers in NA and just throw them in a server and see what happens. Like the all-star race. Hey Mullock, I know you might still be watching. Can we do like an all-star race? And then you could put me in there as in like a baseline of like, hey, here's like the average driver. So you can see just how good these guys are. I'll start in the back every single race. I'll be like 2 seconds off because some of these guys are absolute aliens. It is just ridiculous. But we still wait for that first lap to come out here. The thing is with this 6 minute, oh, that's a deleted lap for Sansano. The thing with this 6 minute race is, or 6 minute qualifier, you only get about 2 laps. So if you mess up the both of them, well, you are starting from all the way down. Stats lie all the time. It's not math, it's guesswork. I'm a communications major. And something like this, the whole commentary thing, is something I want to do with my life. I'm not kidding. I would love to do it. Especially with racing, that's where I want to end up. So who knows, maybe someday you'll hear my voice again. You'll be like, I know that guy. He used to do the same thing with a sim racing league. And yeah, that'd be something. But the future holds what it holds. I don't know what it holds. I'm kind of scared. And, well, I have no control right now. No, it's I got control. Speaking of no, it's William No on top right now, 55 and 93. Benjamin Habe, 55, 99. It's within the 56 or within the 56, 55s. We take those. Speaking of 56, Voi's in there. 56, 34 for him. Jesse Torbio, 58, 2. Getting a little bit drift happy there. Now, everyone listen to JC. Like and subscribe. Listen, when JC talks, you gotta listen, alright? That is the #1 commentator here in Octane Online Racing. And I don't care what he says. I don't care if he says I'm lying. He knows it's true. He's trying to be humble. I know you. I know you, JC. Come on. But yes, if you are enjoying this, of course, like and subscribe. Share with your friends. If you've got friends of yours that want to join a sim racing community, that is no bias at all, the best one out there, definitely send them our way. We'll be more than happy to have them. Let me tell you something. We have got quite the group here. 4,300 members and growing every single day. But yeah, this is how I got started. Someone told me about it and I joined, and I can't tell you how happy I am. Carlos Guzman, 55-11. Marco Vasquez, a 58-15. Justin Moffat, there it is, 57-02. Up into P5. It's still No on top. He's done. Habe is done. Vasquez is on a lap, so we will have a chance. Cameron Sansano, there it is. That's what we were waiting on. 55-41, half a second over No. When will we be able to bet on this? As soon as we find a gambling sponsor. The gambling sponsor is me. You don't gamble anything. You just use your words. You're just like, I think this person will win. And if you win, I will personally high-five you. I don't know how I'll do it, but we'll figure it out. That is true. It would be illegal on Australia. We'll put the odds. Be like, you know, this person has X% chance. Let's just get back to qualifying before Mullock bursts down my door and throws me into a river or something. Marco Vasquez, 4/10 up. This would put him, possibly, if he can really squeeze some extra time, could put him into 13th. Which would be, for this second race, a very good start for him, especially silver rated. And I think we should just take a moment after qualifying is finished to talk about the rankings here. Across the line he goes, up into P2 there, 55-63. Not enough to overtake Sansano, but definitely enough to turn some heads. Carlos Guzman down 11th, 58-11. Is over a second faster. And we will see where he ends up. He's 6 point... Oh, he just gained so much time out of the final corner. Did he keep it inside track limits, though? That's the question. This is almost 2 seconds, and he does up into 6th position. Wow, what a amazing little end there. Good stuff. Welcome in, PJ, of course. Plane tickets would be expensive. I am like Elastigirl. I'll just stretch my arm. So let's talk for a moment about some of those squares you see with the numbers. It's a question that a lot of new drivers have to the game, and they always ask, what do they mean? What do they mean? What do they mean? Well, let's start off. If it's in a red square, that is the amateur class driver. And to sort of preface this, just because you're amateur or pro-am or pro means nothing. I mean, obviously it means something, but just because someone's pro and you see them in a pub lobby, well, I remember when I started, I set my title to pro. But in the OR, it does mean something. So amateur class driver is red. If it's white, that is the pro-am. And then black, or no, black is pro-am, white is pro. I sometimes forget these things. And then if it's silver, that means they haven't been rated yet. And what that means is at the moment, we're not really sure which class they should be in. And it usually takes a few races, and ideally we'll have everybody sorted out within the next few weeks here. But yeah, all of these drivers, of course, it's nothing to be ashamed of if you're amateur, pro-am, or pro. It's just a color to, you know, sort of put you in your own little category. So not only are you racing everyone else, you're racing those in your class. And that's the thing I like about the sort of GT3 racing is you can have multiple classes of drivers, and they're all competing with each other and those who have the same sort of title next to them. But we get to about a minute 20. I just completely forgot words. Shoutouts. Simrigs. Talked about him. I'll talk about him again for a few more times. Don't you worry, you pretty little faces. You need some new sim racing equipment? Well, let me tell you, this Melbourne-based supplier has got you covered. Australia, New Zealand, you guys know what it's like. Outside of that, emailing is what's going to get you some gear if they can work that out. And if you're an OR Patreon member, of course, 5% off your in-store purchases. As someone who is the son of a woman who did nothing but coupon and still does nothing but couponing, because let's be real, savings are cool, I'd highly suggest you take advantage of that. So again, thank you to Simrigs, sponsoring Season 11 of the Sprint Series. Y'all are awesome. Back out on track, though. We are getting ready. 30 seconds. And we should be seeing these drivers getting down off the jacks and getting those cars started, unless they want to start from the pit lane, which is never a good idea. So what we'll do is we are going to pop and lock it. We'll pop, lock it, drop it, excuse me, onto the safety car. And you'll get to see the amazing, wonderful world of our talented drivers doing what they do. And that is making a straight line. And keep in mind, we still have one more split after this, so not only is it going to be blue, it'll also be red. That'll be after. So, safety car pulls away, and we do see somebody into the pit lane. That's Sam Raworth. That is probably not what he wants. So, here's how it's going to work. The safety car pulling away right now. The race director is calling out those driver numbers in the reverse grid order. They're going to line up. And then once that is all said and done, the rest of the field will line up in their positions. And from there, we're going to get this second race going. 40 minutes on the clock, of course. And at that point, well, let me tell you something. It's going to get a little crazy. Some flashes there from Carpenter. So he's getting nice and comfortable, right close. Nice little kiss onto the bumper of the BMW. So let's see how well this line looks. How many of you remember being the line leader in school? Were you obsessed with the line being perfectly straight, or were you a little bit like, yeah, loosey-goosey, I'll let it kind of slide a little bit? So far, we're doing pretty good. We've got a straight line. Here's Tazaro, and we're already pulling away, so it looks like we are set and ready to go. Drivers, of course, catching up. There's Kenneth Portis. He is going to be starting down P13. Or P12, excuse me. They'll have a lot of work to do. Same with Love Rink. They got to get around each other. They got to get around those ahead of them. And we could be seeing a lot of carnage here in a very short amount of time. But 40 minutes, not going to be as crazy, not going to be as desperate. We will have some time where we all can just sit back, relax a little bit, and then we'll be good to go. But we are set and ready. Race number 2 for blue. And then we'll hop on over and do red split. We'll probably catch them, I want to say maybe in the middle of qualifying, if not like the tail end of practice. Generally, that's where we end up. With how these 2 splits go. I know last season we had 1 split. I think the season before we had 2 in North America. I think we've only ever had 1 in EU for as long as I can remember. AP has 4, so that's they split that over 2 days. Because can you imagine running 4 splits in a single day? I would lose it. I would lose it. Although with the F1 series we run, I think that's what, 3 races or 3 races with 3 splits. But then again, it's just one race. It's not these super sprints or mini enduros. PJ, I agree with you. As someone who is not the biggest fan of this track or the French language, yeah, I get it. It's rough. I'm gonna have a chat with voice, and I'll be like, hey, you guys know you can pronounce more of those letters, right? Oh goodness, riddle time. Any riddles for us? I don't know. Look at this pack. Oh, we've got some little disorganization. This is the thing with this super sprint starts. It gets a little bit weird, because you never really know who you're supposed to follow, especially with the safety cars. It kind of messes up the order a little bit. But we get ready. Canceled? You can't cancel me. I don't even have a career. Checkmate, atheist. But around the final corner we go. It is going to be Carpenter on pole from that race 1 12th place finish. Dornelis, Flomger, Landry, Dagger, top 5. Tesaro, Clifford, Boisvert, Keogh, Fernandez, those next 5. Everybody else following suit. It's side by side here as we crawl over that timing line. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you know it? I think it's just about time that we go green, green, green here. Race number 2. It is going to be Flomger getting a much better start than Carpenter down to turn 1, although just has to come off of the gas a little bit to avoid contact. We see some late braking, a Luigi going down the inside of contact there onto Boisvert, but keeps it together. He's getting knocked around like it's Mario Super Strikers, but manages to keep things going. I think I want to sit here of all places. This is looking extra dicey. There's Portis late on the brakes, trying to gain some time to Boisvert. Round the outside does go the Mercedes of Fernandez. Boisvert getting swallowed up by the pack right now. Loverink having to deal with the Audi there of Sansano, is not able to get away as well as Portis did. On the back straight, we are going for the first time. Austin Carpenter stays in the lead. It's Dornelis, Flomger, 2 and 3 behind them. Landry sort of in no man's land right now. Tesaro giving a bit of a slipstream down to Clifford. Keogh waiting in the shadows. Fernandez, Boisvert side by side here with Portis. 2 cars, high acceleration, high top end. Very good, very strong here at Paul Ricard. The inside line will be Boisvert's. Is he going to keep it stuck? Yes, he is. But it is going to be Portis there with a lot more bravery around the outside. Best the Canadian, and pulls in to position number 9. These 2 drivers, of course, going to be looking for that top 10 finish. But we've got in the background, that is a spinning Sansano, and somehow picks up the Mercedes of, I believe that was Guzman, one of the Guzman brothers. That could have been Jose. It looked like it was. Not quite certain what happened there. It's unfortunate, but we carry on. Dornelis down into P2. There's Flomger getting the better of the Brazilian. On to lap number 2 we go. Fernandez looking for a little bit of a slipstream there from Keogh on the inside there. Fernandez gonna try to stick it around the outside. Drifting across the corner goes Keogh. Holds on somehow. A little bit of oversteer there on the Mercedes. Keeps it planted though. Keeps himself from getting sent to the shadow realm. William, no. Skylar Loverink, the battle for P11 already brewing. Loverink wants to make up for his sins from the first race. He got spun but recovered as best he could to finish there in the top 3. Gets the move done up into P11. 37.5 to go though. Still plenty of time for more bollards to get punted and for more people to make up positions. There's the Aston Martin there. The Luigi Mobile of Thomas Dag running down on Habe for P13. And just ahead, there is no. That slipstream effect. It's almost like Mario and Luigi, or maybe the McDonald's Mobile for Habe. But Thomas Dag with that slipstream makes it work. Gets the move done, but for how long does this go? Ben Keogh, Wilson Fernandez, Kenneth Portis. This is P7 right here. Fernandez slips ahead, somehow avoiding contact with Keogh. Clifford, Tesaro just beyond. We'll ride on board here with Keogh. See what is being produced right now. Clifford trying to pull away, is doing a decent job there. Tesaro not really finding the traction he would have liked. And then it's Fernandez, Keogh. The Porsche there, is that, it can't be Landry, can it? That is not Landry. It's a Porsche. We don't know quite which one. Oh, it is Landry. Okay, I was correct. So, some battle packs forming, it looks like. The background. Whoa, Lee Moore getting a little bent out of shape there. As Moffat goes around up into P21. And there's Baxter, Raducanu, Voisin as well. We'll ride on board here with the American. He's got the French behind him. And he's keeping him at bay. For how long? Whoa, we've got... Ooh, that was scary. Tori Bio, nice little disconnect there. Beauty of ACC's coding and connectivity. A slight disconnect, but kept it together. Ooh, down the inside, Voisin. He's going to be outside for the next turn, but inside on the subsequent corner. Very smart move there from Voisin up into P24. And we see Sam Raworth as well in the picture. Not quite in the fight just yet, but not giving up. And speaking of not giving up, Fernandez on a charge right now, up into P6 around, or sorry, down the inside of Landry, who is going to try to keep this together, keeping it within track limits, but he is going to be outside the corner. Maybe a little bit of a switchback here. No, it doesn't look like it. Had to stand on the brakes a little bit. And just up ahead, look at that, what we've got. There is, I believe, Dornelis, Carpenter, Clifford, Tesaro runs out wide. Fernandez. Got to be careful with track cuts. You can maybe argue with the 20-minute sprint race, it's not that bad, but the problem is with these 40 minutes, it's a lot more common. We saw it in EU. We saw plenty of drivers picking up drive-through penalties because of those track limit warnings. And it's incredibly easy to do it here. Dornelis re-inherits that first place and the fastest lap, 55.44. Things are looking up right now. It seems to be a little bit of a dip in the action. Drivers are maybe a little bit calm right now, saying, all right, we've done enough. Time to maybe get a little bit of time to sort of work things out, although lower down on the grid, there's still going to be action. Voisin around the outside there of Baxter. Nothing he could have done there. Up into P23 for the Frenchman. But yeah, with this sort of top running group, you have just some little bits of action, little hints of something that could possibly become reality, but just backing out. Biding your time, just waiting for the proper moment to strike. William No, highest rated amateur class driver in P12. Louis Campbell is in P18, so there is a big gap, and this could be 13th here for the debutant. But I think he'll be more than happy to know that the person overtaking him could be fellow Canadian Thomas Dag, looking on the inside and is not getting any sort of room to work with right now. Everything that he's trying at the moment not working out too well. Benjamin Habe, ooh, swiping across the front there of Carlos Guzman, almost taking his nose clean off. Ooh, Ooh, Moore picks up a 15-second penalty. That must have been for the contact we saw or not lap 1, I think it was lap 1. We'll see. We'll double check in on that. Renato Dornelis currently leads the field right now. Only about half a second or so. Not much that he really has to work with. And then it's Timothy Flomger with daylight between himself and Clifford. Clifford, the sun's starting to set, and for Carpenter, it's already dusk. And then you can see Fernandez in the darkness. It is fully night for him as he tries to hold on to what he's got, but that is going to be quite the task. Especially 40 minutes on the clock. Boisver, we've got a very solid, I'd say 11-1 group. Lovering. Saw a bit of light on the inside, but well, it's nothing more than an illusion. Let's just slot back in. And well, this is the one part of the track where the McLaren will sort of shine with that top end. Not something the BMW can boast. Not quick enough for the BMW. Here's Tazaro, door to door with Carpenter as we head down the back straight. And that move is done well before the corner. Carpenter having to settle for 5th right now. But it's going to be that experience that could put him back into P4. Behind them, Fernandez and Landry. These two drivers, of course, incredibly experienced here in the OR and just ACC in general. Incredibly talented drivers. We can see some slightly different lines. Landry looks for a later apex. Does pull in a bit closer, but not really enough for a move. Trying to spook Fernandez off his line. He might have. Oh, that might not have been the play. As Landry loses a couple of tenths there, it looks like. Yeah, and just out of the corner gets a little loosey-goosey. And that is that. Skylar Loverank has gotten around Boisverd into the top 10 for him. So we see how much further up the grid can he go by race end, but he has got a lot of competition to get through. Wilson Fernandez, Michael Landry, sort of the place we're sitting. And right behind them you see Portis has gotten around Keogh at some point. The race 1 winner is going to try to make it 2. He's got half an hour to pick his way through 7 drivers. And that doesn't seem too bad when you put it on paper, but when you look at just how good some of these guys are, it is a lot to ask. Especially Dornelis, Flomger, 2 drivers we have seen a lot of. Drivers who have proven themselves time and time and time again to be the biggest threats in North America. And they are putting it on display here. Dornelis 2.1 is his gap right now to Flomger. How about we pop down here a little bit? We've got a slight 5-pack forming right now. Ike Raulu getting the move done on Habe. And Moffat, Campbell, Guzman in tow as well. Raulu here, a new driver in North America's Sprint. Look at what he's got, P16 right now. Little entourage behind him, but I don't think they're asking for an autograph. I think they've got someone teleporting. Habe perhaps forgetting to turn off the stove. Had to go check that really quick, as he falls way down the grid simply because the internet. So, free positions for Moffat, Campbell, and Guzman. They'll take those, no problem. No questions asked. It appears as though Habe has stopped. Probably trying to figure out the source. Hopefully nothing's updated. Ooh, back to the pits. Surprising. So that might be a premature race end for him. Hopefully not. Hopefully we see him back out here and racing once more. There's a lot of small sub-1 second gaps, but really not a lot that's happening. It's just sort of drivers sitting there and waiting for the time to strike. Wilson Fernandez with that slipstream on a Porsche that's not well known for its speed. Around Carpenter. Does he get it together? Yes, he does. He does have the space for it. And there it is. Wilson Fernandez into the top 5. Raulu picking up 10 seconds. Oh, goodness. Oh, dearie me. I can only imagine what that's for. I actually don't even know what that's for. Let's see what the let's see what it says. So, Raulu, number 27, a collision on lap 1 is his penalty, and because there is no pit stop, it can't be served. That is one thing we will see in these regular sprint races where it's just an hour, or even in the mini enduro with an hour and a half, is when you get those penalties. It's better, as I always say, to get them before you go in to the pit lane. That way you can just serve it and get it on and just try to get the rest of your race going. More picking up some time there. 10 seconds, a lap 1 collision. So yeah, this is the thing I talked about earlier, not just with this broadcast, but with EU, is that the start of the season is always a little bit stressful because you have all these new drivers coming in, or, you know, if you're a new driver, then you have all these, what you can only assume to be veteran drivers that you're having to deal with. So usually within the first couple of races, we should be good to go. The more these guys drive together, of course, the more experience they are going to get. Let's ride here. Thomas Dagg does have a scary little Porsche there of William No behind him. Very solid performance from the amateur class driver. And you can see Tesaro, the only Pro-Am, I think, tonight. And he is running all the way up in P number 4. Keep in mind, drivers can be promoted at any point if the council, as I call it, deems it as such. Hold on. We have a little bit of action here as Guzman sends it around Vasquez, but he's got a drive-through penalty. He's got 3 laps to sort it out, or he's going to get a disqualification. I will say, never ever spend your drive-through on the last lap of the race, because the game will not count it because you finished the race before you served your drive-through. I know Michael Schumacher did it, but unfortunately this is not the time, and you will get hit with a 40-second penalty. We saw it in the EU split. Hopefully we don't see it here in North America, though, because that's never fun. But yes, Guzman hopefully will get this sorted out. And Paul Ricard's pit lane, if you've ever driven it, is excruciatingly long. It is one of the longest pit lanes I have ever driven on, and it is the worst. In the meantime, however, Keogh has gotten around Loverink. Although Loverink is going to try to make it work around the outside, he has the land to play with, and somehow sliding it over the hood there of the Aston Martin gets it done. But, I mean, do you really want to get in front of somebody before the back straight? No, you don't, because now you're going to give them the slipstream. And that's the last thing you want. You can argue you can slipstream back, but I don't know if that's really going to be enough. So Keogh sitting here right behind the BMW, pulls out to the side using that slingshot to get it done. And just all of that extra speedy carries, and even pulls into the middle to try to keep him from getting any of that slipstream off of it. Kenneth Portis has been struggling to shake off Landry drive-throughs. Pitol, Jose Guzman, both of the Guzman brothers have unfortunately found themselves in a unfortunate position. Ben Keogh still fighting here with Loverink, as Loverink runs it way out there, and thankfully is able to keep things together. Lee Moore and Sam Raworth. Sam we're going to hear from after this race. He'll be joining us in the booth, of course, for race for the red split, so it won't be just me talking for what I assume to be about 3 hours. Actually, when we get to the... Oh, God, I forgot about the, the mini enduro. That's going to be a long night. But Raworth gets the move done. Moore is just really having a hard time keeping this Mercedes under control. Guzman goes into the pit lane to serve that drive-through penalty. Look up here. Timothy Flomger. Hold on a second. Is that... That is Jonathan Clifford just behind him. I don't think there's really much of a threat. No, there isn't. He's just barely outside of that 7/10, or 3/4 rather. So he'll be safe and sound. Pitol into the pit lane, serving that drive-through penalty as well. Austin Carpenter, here it is. This is what we've been waiting for. Kenneth Portis, the driver who we saw a lot of up front last season, and he started his season 11 or season 12 sprint off with the win, and he's looking to do it again. 21.5 minutes to go here. Finally has something to show for it, up into P6, and he's gonna hope that Carpenter and Landry can start battling each other. Obviously, he's gonna be focusing mostly on getting around Fernandez for that top 5. He's got a couple of other drivers to get through. The ownership of P9 continues in this little struggle, this tug of war, if you will. Keogh and Loverank sending it down the inside. Is the space there? There is space, but doesn't get the drive out of the corner. I think Boisvert is getting a little antsy too. I thought he might have braked a little bit later. And you can see Keogh just doing what he can to try and break the slipstream. Loverank zipping over back to the racing line. And for Boisvert, for the Canadian, this is exactly what he wants. A little bit of infighting between the two Americans in front will just reel him in a little bit closer. It's what he's hoping for, especially as we head down this long back straight. Loverank looked like he was going for a move. He did. He did. There was an opening, but there really wasn't. And the two come together. Boisvert picks up 2 positions. Loverank will have to redress this. But it looks like he won't. He's just going to stay in front. But with the slipstream, it'll be Keogh getting around, but I don't really think it matters all that much. There's most likely going to be a certain stewarding decision that comes through. Lee Moore has yet to serve the drive-through. I think this might be a lap he serves it. Baxter behind. We'll pick up this P21. Oh, Lee has, yeah, he's got one more chance. He's got to get back around. Chris Frizza, man, what a race it's been for him. This has been not something he really wanted. And there is the lapping Dornelis. Excuse me, Dornelis has lapped him. That's, wow, that is incredible to watch. I didn't even know we had that much of a slaughter going on right now. That's sort of the last place you want to be. But for Dornelis, this is good. This keeps Flomger away a little bit longer. He is able to use it sort of as a screen to pull away, and you also can see just ahead of Dornelis. We'll see who this is. That is the 129 Mercedes there of, not Carlos Guzman, excuse me. That is the wrong Guzman. Not quite certain who that was. But is able to get around. So the thing with these back markers is, while yes they are annoying, you can use them to your advantage. You can use them to sort of set up a pseudo block, and you know, you can use that to gain time. That's what Dornelis is doing. So he has gotten around the, oh, that is the 20, that's the driver in 25th. That is Jose Guzman. Oh, there was no 129. I was looking where there was none. Guzman, whoa, that is not what you want. But whoa, and we've got someone else just gone. What in the world is going on back here? Can we get some shenanigans going on here? You know what? It is the first race of the season. It's never gonna be this dirty again. Give it 2-3 races, we'll be up and at them in no time. But yeah, with these back marks, it also sort of screws up the broadcast controller program that we use, because it just looks at the gap to the car in front. It doesn't really specify whether it's a car that is, you know, a lapped car, whatever the case may be. Has Moore served his drive-through? No, he hasn't. How many laps does he have to serve it? It couldn't have been 3. It hasn't been 3 laps already. But anyways, yeah, the broadcast controller kind of messes up. Whoa, Lovebrink into the pit. That's interesting. Oh, because he has a drive-through. That's he must have just picked that up. So now the slow crawl through the longest pit lane. It is not what you want to deal with. So we'll see where Lovebrink gets spit out after that. But yeah, this is, out of any track you don't want to get a drive-through, this is one of them. I would say this track and Spa are the last 2 places you want to pick up a drive-through penalty, with just how freakishly long it takes to get from one end to the other. A track like Bathurst, if you somehow get a drive-through, that's impressive. That's not really a track you get drive-throughs. That's sort of a track where, yeah, Imola, Indy as well, very harsh on those pit lanes. So yeah, if you want a handful of tracks you want to avoid drive-throughs, Spa, Paul Ricard, Imola, Indy. You know, if you can take a drive-through and, you know, have kids and have your kids have kids by the time you get out the other side, it might be a little bit long. Lee Moore serving his drive-through. And you can see it's, for him, just a rough evening for him. And he'll be getting to the end of that pit lane in no time at all. But we pop back out. Austin Carpenter getting around some back markers. Michael Landry as well. So these two can continue their battle. To answer the question, DeMarville Racing. Yeah, if you cut the track 4 times, so you get your 3, and then at that 3rd one, your spotter is going to warn you, and if you do it again, then you get that drive-through. So if you do it 4 times, the game will say, all right, you've been bad. Go through the pit lane. Naughty racers, go through the pit lane zone. We hop around the grid. Whoa, Moore's got 30 seconds. That could possibly be for something. You can even get penalty. We even give out drive-throughs for collisions, so it's not just you know, these track limits. It's also also collisions, but the collisions one is completely up to, yeah, punished for severe collisions, exactly. So it changes depending on where you're at, or depending on what we're doing. So obviously with the OOR, you know, it's a little bit more custom in what we get to sort of dish out penalties for. Never fun, but it's the rules of the game. We got to uphold them. But things really have settled down. We had a lot of action that first, I'd say maybe 10, 15, and it's just sort of been nice time trials right now. Let's right on board with Landry. He's been trying to chase down Carpenter lap after lap. So last lap for Carpenter, a 55.44. Landry 0.6 faster with that 54.8, but the thing is, there was some lap traffic they had to get through, so it's not a clearly true indication of the pace these two are running. So I'd say the lap following this will probably give us a really good idea of just how quick these two are. Just up ahead, you do see Kenneth Portis sitting in the top 5 right now. Gonna be looking for a little bit more, possibly 13 minutes to go. But we have just under 13 to play here. We'll see what can happen. We look around. Marvel, you got some good eyesight. We look at some of the newer drivers. Flores, Guzman, Moore, Raducanu. Has not really been a great afternoon for them. Baxter as well has been struggling a little bit. Toribio up in 19th at the moment. Carlos Guzman in 18th, doing the better of his brother, Raulu, with 10 seconds added on. It's going to be rough for him. Moffat, I think of the new drivers, is the highest. Actually, that's a lie. I lied. The highest rated driver is actually Dan Tesaro from all the way over in the UK. Has made a statement, running it P3 at the moment in the Pro-Am. He is the only Pro-Am, I believe, in the race, and the only one this high up, if there are others that I just missed. But he has had an absolutely amazing start. We hop here, the battle for P6, Carpenter, Landry, down the back straight, on the inside. Oh, sorry, actually around the outside goes Landry. He does get the move done. I think for a moment, both of the back ends of these Porsches stepped out, but these two guys have a lot of practice. They are able to keep this horse tamed. And the job done for Landry. He's got Portis to work with. A little ways up, though. Anything can happen. What a great move. Boisvert, I think, has... Oh, I think he was just getting around a back marker. Again, that's the big thing with the broadcast controllers. I can never tell if it's, you know, a lapped car or a car that's actually being raced against. But so far, Dornell is still in a very commanding lead. Looks just about a second and a half down to Falamger, trying to do what he can. There's Tesaro, P3. Fernandez in 4th. Portis in P5. Last lap for Portis, a 55.73. Fernandez, a 55.607. Surprising. So Portis not really finding the same pace he had in the first race. But definitely something to look for. Frederick Boisvert here, P8 for him. Very solid start. Jonathan Clifford, P9, and Ben Keogh in P10 is hunting him down, though. Although Clifford seems to have a little bit more pace compared to the Aston Martin. And as we get here to the back straight, again, you know how it is. It's the slipstream train. It's slipstream time, boys. But yeah, Jonathan Clifford, a driver I've sung the praises of quite a lot. But there is one driver that I have praised more than him, and that'll be in the red split. And I'll make sure to point them out. Don't you worry. But yeah, a lot of this, that battle between Carpenter and Landry was already almost a second. So we look at Baxter, who does have Pital behind. However, 10 seconds is the penalty that is going to be added on to the Brazilian and the BMW at the end of this race. Raducanu isn't really close enough to make something happen. 9.8 seconds, though. It is barely within the realm of possibilities. But we have to wait until that next zone, that next time that the score update, or the timing updates, if you will. And Pital pulls through, so maybe he and Baxter know that one of them has pace, and the other one not quite so much, but can be used as a buffer. So this could be just one position for Pital that he ends up losing, which for him is great, because Raducanu, 9.9, and he's going to want to get that gap as least 10 seconds wide. Again, just to hold on, but anything you can take, of course, you're going to. Ben Keogh on board with him. He's reeled Clifford in quite well. Last lap for the Lamborghini, 56.24, 55.75 here for the Aston Martin. That is a significant gap in speed. So we'll see if the move gets made. Lovering, 25 seconds. That is huge. Let's see if something gets done here. Keogh, slightly different line. Really cutting it inside. Whoa, there's Clifford. Not the big red dog, but the Lamborghini driver almost losing it, but able to grab that bull by the horns and get it back going. Doesn't even lose that much time. And in the slipstream, that's exactly what you want. One move to the side there for Keogh. And Clifford, look at this, the speed the Lamborghini has, especially in the slipstream. is able to get right back alongside, although the line not really what he wants, so he's got to back out, try again later. And as we give this battle time to simmer down, I think we should talk about the penalties. So there is a driver point system in place, and getting too many penalty points will net you anything from a quali ban to a straight up race ban, or even getting removed. Hopefully never have to get to that second one. But again, the first race of the season, it's always a little bit weird for these poor drivers trying to figure everything out. Obviously, the cars that they drive, they're very familiar with, but I believe there was a change recently within the last, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks, to some of these cars. But of course, these drivers have had the time to really come to grips with that, and it hasn't been something they've probably been worrying about all too much this evening. But if there's ever a change in the middle of the season, that's where things get a little bit strange, a little bit odd, a little bit more hard to figure out, because, well, now you've got to work with all the new changes that Kunos has tossed your way. But 6.5 here to go. Dornell is still leading. A 55 or 54.57 is the best lap we have here. Second best lap does go to Timothy Flomger with a 54.81. Dornelis, though, a name we've seen a lot of here in the OOR. A lot of upfront stuff. Endurance race next week. Yes, the Bathurst race. Very exciting stuff. I would join, but, you know, you gotta let someone win. That isn't me. I know how it is. Definitely not, because I'm not part of the Endurance series. But we don't talk about that. I would love to do 12 hours Bathurst. I would do the whole thing start to finish if I could. But that would require some commitment that I do not have enough time to work towards, because I am a college student and I don't get to have free time. Let's look here. Kenneth Portis. So this is interesting. So not only is he reeling in Tesaro a little bit each lap, but he also manages to pull Fernandez in closer as well. So let's see what the lap times are looking like. 55.04 for the Honda, 55.0 for Fernandez. So 2/10 between them. Actually, if you really want to get precise, you're looking at about 0.12 of a second. Tesaro's last, a 54.89, 100th ahead of Portis. So we could be seeing some duels happening in the last couple of laps. I believe we're going to have maybe 2 more laps after this, and then we'll be on the final one, and then we can get ready for North America Red. I'll do some really cool magic in the studio, so you guys can see some of the cool things we have. Cool things that Mullet lets me get to play with. But yeah, Portis has slowly but surely been chipping away at Tesaro. Of course, the Briton doesn't want to give this position up. I think Portis tried to spook him off the line, but just didn't work at all. So that time he just gained now has to go back into this charge. But Tesaro, very great first just race overall. I know it's the second race of the evening, but just his first time here in OOR and already running quite a ways up. It's incredible to see. You love it. It is amazing how good some of these drivers are. On the front straight again. Tesaro's last lap, 55.87. 55.39 for Portis. I just realized I was looking at the wrong column when I called out those last lap times. I'm an idiot. But yes, Portis, half a second up on Tesaro. The gap is a little more than that. And that was even with a little bit of over braking there from the Honda driver. So I'd say if that didn't happen, he'd be quite a lot closer. That lap time difference would have been a lot larger. Probably closer to about 3/4 if I really had to put a number on it. But for right now, Tesoro, just outside Slipstream. Although it is coming right back down. Again, that BMW not really known for its top speed. Honda, on the other hand, well, if you want a fast car, that's what you're going to go with. That and the McLaren, the Ferrari, always solid fast picks. But just because you have a fast car doesn't mean you're a fast driver. It takes a lot of practice time, dedication, and, well, that's exactly what the OOR is about here in the Sprint Series. And the Endurance Series as well. And I'll even give a shout out to our drivers over in Rookies. You're all new, but I know there's greatness amongst all of you. A lot of names that I'll see in the Rookie Series. A good chunk of them do come up into Sprint. Keeping the driver pool fresh, keeping things new. But again, Tesoro, one of those drivers who came up from the Rookie Series, really has made a name for himself already. On the final lap goes Dornelis, and ahead of them appears to be a backmarker McLaren. So we'll see how this plays out. Yeah, that is a McLaren. I believe that's either Flores or Raducanu. I think, yeah, there's the flashing headlights from Tesoro. He's saying, dude, listen, I need you to get out of the way. I've got some scary man behind me. That is Raducanu getting right out of the way. Did not even think twice, just did it. Here's the problem. That may have just done something for Tesoro. That might have just botched things. Backstretch. Portis dancing across those curves. With the slipstream, pulls in closer. Let's see, Tesoro. You can see just there. Along the outside. Oh, almost into that rear right quarter panel. You gotta be careful here, boys. You do not want to cause an accident. Oh my god, Tesoro not expecting that. But that seems to have actually worked out pretty well for him, as he stays a lot closer here. Peaks on the inside. Heeding the advice of that rear wing, and doesn't want to touch it at all. But Tesoro, he wants that P3, but I don't know if there's enough in it. That might be it. That might be the nail in the coffin. But the only nail that really needs to matter right now is Renato Dornelis, a driver we are very, very familiar with, winning these races, rounds the final corner, and he's going to pick up race number 2 here. 2 different winners, 2 different races. Timothy Flomger across the line, P2, and Kenneth Portis on that last lap just best Tesoro to the line. 3 and 4 for them. Wilson Fernandez in 5th, Landry 6th, Boisvert 7th, Carpenter 8th ahead of Keogh and Clifford 9th, and there is 10th across the line. Thomas Dagg. Luigi is in 11th. William No, debutant in the Sprint Series, finds himself P12, highest rated amateur class driver. Great job from him. Marco Vasquez does have Skylar Love rank, but 25 seconds for the number 52. It's not really gonna matter. We're gonna see how far down he goes. Moffat's gonna pick up a position. Voisin, I'm not certain. Voisin actually will probably pick up a... Ew, that's close. I think he is gonna pick it up. Raulu, unfortunately, is gonna lose this position. 10 seconds. Voisin will probably not lose this to Guzman. I don't think so, no. So it looks like these two will trade places. We got Toribio around that final corner. Then we had Raducanu, Jose Guzman, Chris Frizza, Lee Moore, and excuse me, Horatio Flores, 23 to 27th. Sam Raworth, we'll be hearing from him in just a short amount of time. P20 for the Pink Pig. Fabio Pitol. He will definitely be losing this position to Baxter. So they'll swap it around. 22 for the BMW driver here. And just behind him, Austin Baxter. Debut season here. We'll pick up P21, and across the line he goes. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for North American Blue. And we are going to take a look over at the timing tables. Race number 1 on top overall, Kenneth Portis, Skylar Lovering, Wilson Fernandez. Pro-Am is going to be Tesaro, Habe, and Frizza, 3 of them. In the amateur class, Tori B.O., William No is popped down to second because of that 15-second time penalty, and Sam Raworth makes it onto the podium for amateur. And then for those that are unrated, Flores, Baxter, Raducanu, your top 3. Race number 2, of course, we take a peek at. Jordan Ellis gets a win there. Flomger and Portis finds his way onto the 3rd step of the podium. Pro-Am, Tesaro, Frizza, Habe. Amateur, No, Torbio, Raworth. And then Silver, Vasquez, Baxter, Raducanu. And then, of course, in both races, we have the OR safety car. But we're not quite done here tonight. No, no, no. We are not even close to being done. Now, you know I talked about magic earlier? Well, look at this. If you look in the top right corner, you see how it says North America red or blue. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Bang. And they say that we aren't magical here at the OR. What do they know? You can't even get that anywhere else. But now we hop on over to Red Split. We are going to find them in... Is that the password? Yes, it is. We are going to find them at the top end of qualifying. So, that is done and dusted. And we are going to... Oh, God, we are actually in the race. This is the race. Oh, this is the... We completely missed quali. Well, that's perfect. Good stuff. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, very, very quickly. Stop it. Why am I getting pinged? I'm getting pinged by the wrong people. Ladies and gentlemen, though, welcoming into the commentary booth, Mr. Sam Raworth. Sam, walk us through it, man. How was that first race for you?
I would say hectic would be the first answer. You know, getting some of that rust off. A lot of that rust off. All of the rust off.
Did you get the rust off, though?
Oh, God, no. I mean, I think I got the rust off when I ran against the wall and scraped it all off.
Okay. Well, that's a bit of an issue. Okay, so it looks like we completely missed the first race. We completely missed the first race. That's a problem. And I can't even look at the garage. Gosh darn it. But while we're here, I guess we could talk about the this Red Split. So, let's get some stats going. So, get your pencil ready, Sam.
Okay.
I don't even know what's going on. Are we in practice? Are we in quali? I don't know what's going on. I don't think anyone does. I think we're all confused. Anywho.
Quali.
Okay. If we're in quali, then perfect, because we just got here. But their race started about 15 minutes ago, so it is possible that we're not. But anyways, so, talking about returning champions. The person that I have sung the praises of so much so that this guy can never, ever, ever get enough is none other than the camera messing up and not showing me Hamza Golzar. He is returned in the Honda for another round of the OOR. Let me tell you, this guy is a bullet. He's a missile. He is whatever caliber you'd like to use. The second place Pro-Am driver is Keith Briscoe in the Mercedes. I believe he is in the server. I think I just saw him. And then for the amateur class, we have Darren Wicks in the Audi, is staying in the Audi as well. 28 drivers in the split, and we have 26 of them on circuit. So we're actually getting into quality number 1. That's perfect, because that gives us enough time to talk about some of these new drivers. So if you don't mind, Sam, I'm going to talk for about 15 minutes and then not let you talk. Is that okay?
You can talk for like 30 minutes. I still get paid.
Best I can do is 35. But anyways, so the new drivers here for North America right now, we had one split last season, so we had enough drivers to warrant 2. We have Braunstater, Kaiser, Bass, Marquez, Lanham, Parkinson. Those last 3 I just listed are all BMW drivers. They're actually the only BMW drivers on the grid. I actually lied because we have a safety car, but we won't count that. And then we have Wheeler, Navarro, Page, Weldon, Conway, Platt, and Luke. Page, I have personal history with. Surprisingly, not in the Boatley, but that is okay. The Boatley is too overpowered. Shoutouts to Boatley Space Program. But a lot of returning names here. Brown, Pierce, Jonathan Steele, another driver we've seen a lot of. Braden Thompson, another one. Andrew Wilson, rocking that Pac-Man livery like he did last season. We love to see it. Keith Briscoe as well, back again. Another season. Who else? Hamza Golzar, just talked about him. I'm sure he's going to listen to this and be like, oh my god, Nick said I'm so good again. I'm like, yeah, I know, because you're amazing. Chad Teely, another driver back once more for another season. Brian Rasco, and woof, that's a nice looking monster livery. I'm not a big monster drinker myself, but I can like a nice car every now and again. Eduardo Sanchez, looks like that didn't load. Kevin Parody, oh, Kevin, oh my god, that looks amazing. I knew it looked good. Much better than last season. He ran
Jeez,
the
dude, get a room with it.
Well, excuse me for having appreciation for art, Sam. Dave Hasser as well is back here, and Darren Wicks as well. I think we have a full grid. No, we don't. We're missing a few. But anyways, that's it for what I was going to say. So, Sam, let's talk a little bit about you. And
That's never good.
No, it's good. Shut up. So, walk me through your sort of your procedure, your process when it came to practicing for tonight's race.
Well, that's sort of an issue when you have an endurance quali that ends tonight. So I was pretty much doing all Bathurst until like Monday, and then I switched over to do. First, I try to just dial in my overall setup. Which usually has, low fuel. You're basically going for a quality setup first. And once I dial that in, then I start adding, fuel and making it slightly safer because, well, let's face it, you're only fast in the Porsche if you're sideways.
Yep.
Or backwards. So dial it back a little bit and then just start doing lap after lap after lap. I mean, luckily, at this point in my career, I guess.
Yes, career. Yeah, you have a career. Don't worry.
I do know this track pretty well. I was trying to qualify for the endurance here. I didn't make it, but that was a lot of laps of practice. So it's sort of just become second nature. But then because you get better and better, I mean, you see me. I've been in AM for 70 or 80 years now, but I am improving, and that means that every time you improve a little bit, you end up taking the next turn a little bit faster, which means you enter the next straight a little bit faster, carrying more speed, and you have to adjust for that. So there is still a lot of adjustment as you're improving in those practices, and just sort of hoping that once I get to the race I can sit back a little bit from the edge of the line just to be safe and make it around.
Well, it seems like you've had a lot on your plate. So you are going to be participating in the Bathurst 12-hour. How's that been going?
I am not going to be participating. Well, trying to. So actually, Chad Teely and crap, I'm gonna forget his name now. Where is he? I just gotta look. Oh, I gotta look for it. Either way, he and I, and this is gonna really piss me off because I'm being an awful person.
Don't you have like a list somewhere of your team?
Yeah, I'm actually just gonna go to it.
I was gonna say
it's so bad. Darren, okay, Darren. Sorry, Darren. There's me and some Canadians. I'll say.
Oh, there's of course some Canadians. That's fine.
Yeah, we're sort of an AM team, and I mean, I spent probably since the winter break slowly coming down in time, just to barely get 2 seconds away from the average. Okay, I think my fastest time was like 1.5 seconds away from what you need to cut off, and that's not really the average. Mole always says that the Bathurst 12-hour is the most popular race here, and it shows. There's something like 70 teams signed up, only 48 can make it.
Yep.
So the top 48 of that many good teams, they're running, I think, like a 2:02.4 or something is the average of the 48th team, something like that.
That's wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's insane. So I've been practicing. I've been having a lot of fun. I've taken tons of time off. My friend and not rival, but I guess driver in the same league, Tim Flamger, he hopped in with my setup and showed me what I was doing wrong. So when we race Bathurst in sprints, which will not count,
It's about
I should be
rights.
doing, yeah, I should do okay there. But that means that, I'm free to comment. I'm free to commentate and come in and annoy people throughout all the 12 hours.
Annoyed. Oh, Sam, come on. You don't annoy anybody.
I try to.
Relatively speaking. Oh, goodness, man. I was talking about it earlier. With the time that NA goes live, down in Australia, they're waking up or getting through their day, and I talked about the weather. I mentioned it. It's summer down there. It's winter. How are you holding up out there in your part of the state? Because we're getting ready for a nice little Arctic blast.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to drop down to the negatives in Fahrenheit tonight.
Yep.
But it's really been quite a mild winter. I know most of the U.S. has just been hit with like hurricanes and tornadoes and snow where it shouldn't be. But Rhode Island just has enough water around it that it's pretty safe. The problem though is since it's sort of a mild winter and I'm down in my basement for the Simrig and stuff, it's still hot.
Really?
It's
Your
still
basement's
warm.
hot?
Well, I still get hot, racing. I thought I had a season where I could drive without sweating so much, throughout the other races, but nope.
See, my basement, it's kind of cold. Like, it's always cold, but it's great in the summer. Like, in the winter, I mean, it's not like super cold. I can see my breath, but it's just like my dainty gamer fingers are like, hey, I need to be like somewhere warm right now. But yeah.
Yeah, actually, I was doing quali practice in like sweatpants and a sweatshirt, and everything was fine. But as soon as I started doing more than 5 or 10 laps in a row, it feels like 100 degrees. So, kids, if you have a rig, find some way to get cooled seats in there. Definitely worth it. Maybe just pour some water down your back. Have a friend come over and give you some ice on your head. I don't know.
No, just set up a faucet. You could have it like if it's a wet race, you just turn on the faucet and you're like, oh, it's so realistic. It's so immersive.
Yeah, you gotta have a fan going in your face too.
Yep. I mean, you'll have to explain the water bill to your parents, but like, yeah, it's whatever. Or unless you pay it, then you don't have to explain anything.
Parents.
Or whoever you live with. I don't care if they're paying your bills.
Okay, with an optimum track, I mean, I know it's cold here, but I'd expect Gulzar to be at least another second.
Yeah.
Down, right?
Oh yeah, no, insanely fast driver. This guy's ridiculous.
Yeah, you think it's the temperature though?
I don't know. That's the hard thing. Because we saw 53s in blue, and we're at a 54-1, and I think there's still time. Let me see if he's on a improvement. He is, surprisingly. I'm not going to say how much, and I'm not going to comment on it any further. But he is improving.
Yeah, I mean, the track is optimum, but 17 degrees is still 17 degrees. Is that a little bit of lag there, or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't see anything.
Yeah, there was at least 1 or 2 cars in my races where you'd come up on them and they'd sort of just jump forward a little bit, jump backwards a little bit, sideways. But it wasn't enough of a jump that they disappeared. It just looked really jolty, and so I was really nervous to go by those guys. Sort of hoping that, they're able to work that out throughout the season, but it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, we saw some teleportation in your race, and I think we saw a little bit, like maybe one quick instance of it in EU, if I can remember correctly. But one thing I just want to mention is this man right here, Hamza Gulzar. Would you like to take a guess at what his improvement is? I'm not even going to wait for you to answer it. This man currently 3/10. Where does that put him? A 53.83. Are you kidding?
Well, I was going to overshoot with a half second, but
Jesus, bro, relax. That was like perfectly timed right at the line. So Hamza Gulzar, provisional pole. I don't think anyone's going to beat that. Thomas Pierce, he's 4/10 back and about a 10th up on his personal. Eduardo Sanchez, he's almost a full second back, and he's about half a second up. This just goes to show you just how good Gulzar is. Like, is there a rank above Alien? Do we know yet?
He's certainly good, but I mean, if you look at these, at least unless you scroll down a little bit, but if you look at the mix, there's a lot of pro-ams, there's a lot of AMs. The silvers, I believe, are all rookies that have just come in, so there's not that many pros that would be up at the top. So
But
I think that that time off of the fastest time is a little deceiving right now.
according to Marvel, Split Yellow P1 qualified with a 52.5. All right, you know, Gulzar, you're a North American alien, but in the international stage, I'm not certain. I said it earlier. So we have our schedule for this season, and we have those finals races, and I'm wondering if NA is going to do that because we have 2 splits.
Yeah, I think there was some talk about making it like one split or everyone. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. But certainly, it is interesting to have some of the changes this season. I think that we had the races that didn't count last season, but it was a little bit confusing. So I think they sort of bumped points up and down, back and forth. But I think everything's really laid out a lot better now. So we'll be able to see a championship really flow together. Really follow who's, well, not leading because it's always going to be the same 1 or 2 guys, but who's in the mid pack, and that'll be interesting throughout this whole time, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm ready. I mean, hopefully we get to do it because it's always fun. I like to catch the AP race. They seem like they're having a blast. But we're gonna do our usual favorite thing to do, or at least my favorite thing to do, which is, of course, the grid walk. No grid girls, unfortunately. Kunos, I guess, forgot to code those in. I'm sure we'll get it with AC too, though. I'm certain of it. There. But we look at all of these beautiful machines. Hamza Gulzar on pole. When is he not up there? Thomas Pierce, Eduardo Sanchez, Hunter Page, very good P4. And Weldon, 4 of the top 5 in the McLaren. Seems to be a very popular pick here. Spencer Brown, Brian Rasco, Keith Briscoe, Diego Navarro, a debutant here in the series. P9 for him. Braden Thompson makes it into the top 10, however. Andrew Wilson, 11th. Dylan Kaiser is in 12th position. So we got a good mix of old and new names, it looks like. Lawrence Lanham, Cody Platt, Hasser, Ian Wheeler, Kogan, Parody, Wicks, Bass, all those drivers I just rattled off. That's up until 20th position. And that's Conway, Parkinson's, Luke Steele, Marquez at the back. And of course, the Simrigs safety car. I like the new livery we've put on this car. What do you think?
I think it's more aggressive, but I do miss the old one.
Yeah, it had that Nerf football feel to it, it felt like. But it seems a little bit more official, because it's like you said, it's more aggressive. It's angry.
True. It is so nice, though. I mean, I know we had it last season, but I actually, because NA was combined, I didn't really get to commentate on it.
Oh, Luigi loaded. Sorry.
I was just going to say, all these liveries, it's like Luigi loading. It's just so nice to see all these awesome liveries again, and they're new. I don't recognize, some obviously recognizable from last season, so it seems like a lot of people have new and great liveries. It's just a fun part of this.
Yep, I think for a while we had sort of what the game offered or what the OOR team would cook up. I know that's what happened when I was in Sprint. But yeah, it's always nice to see, and I talked about it earlier, Glenn Germain developing a program that gives us a way to sync all of the skins into the proper folders without having to go through and set up, do all the movement ourselves every single week. It just keeps things really streamlined and a lot easier. So, of course, Glenn, shout-outs to you for what you've done. But the safety car pulls away and up the middle of the field, and I absolutely agree with JC. Hunter P4. I've raced with Hunter before in the 9 hours of Kyalami in the Bentley. Incredibly talented driver, obviously signing with an esports organization. Great to see what he's capable of later on down the line. But yeah, P4, very great way to start things off.
Man, I gotta say, I think Glenn has to be multiple people at this point.
Yeah?
It's gotta be like the Dread Pirate Roberts or something. There's no way someone can do all that.
You might be right. You might be right. Well, we'll never know unless we catch him in the act. But then, how do we know it's not just some random person we're harassing? I don't know. He's like Superman, if Superman was a sim racer.
Well, it's sure interesting every time I wake up on the racing Thursdays and I watch back the Australian races, because it's almost always those splits, not the Wednesday, I guess Wednesday for us, but those splits always have some sort of rain in like the practice or something. And I freak out, and I always have to go, oh God, it's gonna rain in this horrible track. And then everyone else is sunny, and here we have again. It's actually warmed up since quali, since I think it's the day after, but they have 3 degrees Celsius up on quali. It looks like sunny, nice, easy weather. Sad.
Hey, listen, we had EU started off wet, but then it just like immediately stopped raining. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think
that's fun.
I know, it was interesting, and then it was like, well, these drivers on their slicks, are they on the wets? Turns out they were on slicks, and I just can't read a situation to save my life. But
well,
yeah.
I did like in the rain race. I'm sure some of them had a flashback to the actual Paul Ricard Enduro, which, I mean, that was the first one my team tried to qualify for, and we missed out. And when I came to watch that, I was so happy I'd missed out.
Yep. I remember watching that back. I'm like, yep, this is one of the races of all time. This is definitely one of them.
It just kept going and going, and every time someone thought, oh, it's gonna dip, but it goes up and dip and goes up.
At least there wasn't a dull moment in some aspect.
No, true. I think every time I spoke, somebody crashed.
Okay, so Sam, I'm gonna just remove you from the booth. We don't need that happening. Actually, I can just mute my headphones, and that way we can't hear you. Haha. No, I won't do that. I like you too much. But anyways, it's some 2x2 filings right now. Hamza Gulls are on pole as per usual. When is he not up there? Alongside Pierce, Sanchez, Page, Weldon, all in McLarens, and then it's Brown, Rasco, Briscoe, Navarro, and Thompson. That top 10. Everyone else following suit. A lot of O's there in that 10th through, I'd say, 6th or so.
So what do you think? McLaren's good here or something?
I don't know, man. I'm just a commentator. What can I say? But what I can say is, ladies and gentlemen, it's the first race here for North American Red Split. Paul Ricard race number 1, 20 minutes on the clock here, and it's green. Gulzar, a great getaway, and already on the attack goes Sanchez on the inside line. You can see the McLaren starting to form up together, a little pack. Whoa, there is, I believe that's Thomas Pierce just sending it, missing his brake point entirely, and gets sent out wide through his own power. Thankfully avoids Gulzar, who's gotten away quite well. Sanchez will pick up this position. Punter Page into P3 already, sending it around the outside there of the Audi. Keeps it together behind them. Ooh, a late move there from the McLaren, and that is a spinning Audi. Oh, we normally see Audi tings, but not like that. Oh, what a start, what a start.
Seems to be a bit of yellow around, but I guess not enough for a safety car, so let's say it's acceptable.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Some drivers getting caught up. Oh, that is just a horrible way to start your season, but again, this is the first race of the season, so plenty of time to figure out your other drivers and get things sorted out. Right now, though, Brian Rasco does have Spencer Weldon. This is for P4. You can see Hunter Page just all the way up there immediately. No time wasted. And Gulzar, Sanchez following that same sort of sentiment. But we're going to be seeing a lot of very close racing here with this 20-minute. We saw it in the blue split. We're certainly going to see it here. And then I think the second race will probably follow suit. That sort of 10-15 minutes of action and a nice lull, and then right at the end we get some more.
Yeah, honestly, in these super sprints, it's almost like the first race is just enough to like have more free practice, but with traffic, And yes, it matters, and yes, it's still good racing, but in the end, it's really all about that next one. Especially when you have the reverse grid, and now suddenly you've got the fastest people in the middle of the the race. It's a whole lot more intense.
Yeah, it really is, and a lot more chances for some accidents to occur. We did see that in blue split. We saw it in EU as well. Is that a Genshin Impact livery for Kogan? It is. Oh goodness me. Anywho, but yeah, no, that reverse grid does have some strange implications because, like you said, you have those slower drivers up ahead, and now you've got to, circumnavigate that, and then you also have to worry about the guys behind you catching up. So it'll be interesting to see how things pan out. Would I be surprised if Gulzar took a second win? Not necessarily, but it would definitely be, I'd say, par for the course.
Yeah, it is always fun to watch the P1, P2 normal, usual guys try to fight through a pack of, 10 or 15. The only problem, though, is, when they start at that point, the middle is where you're probably going to get hit if there's a problem at turn 1, and that's how you really set them back.
Yeah, that's true, and, oh, jeez, that was close. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think that's what makes Super Sprint so exciting, just that uncertainty of the second race. And it's why I feel like it's good that we only do it twice a season, because it makes it just that much more enjoyable. Because I think when we introduced it, or I think when I was doing it, or whenever we first started it, whenever that was. Anyways, I think it was like every other week was a Super Sprint, and that kind of made it a little bit but we've reeled it in. We've got 2 races. We have this race here at Paul Ricard, and then we have the next one at Suzuka. Suzuka, a very fun track, I must say.
It's great. I miss Suzuka. I will say about these Super Sprints, though, I do kind of go into it missing the pits. Get a little second to stretch and
Yep.
Get a drink of water, especially when it's the first race of the season. But hey, that gets the cobwebs off.
Well, I feel like this is sort of the last place you'd want to go into the pit lane. Obviously, we had some drive-thrus in that second race, and this is just such a long pit lane here at Paul Ricard. It takes forever to get through. So I think even with the pit stop, we're very close there from Brown. Even with the pit stop, I think it's just one of those times where you don't even want to go through the pit lane.
Yeah, Brown is all over Hasser right here. You really think that he's gonna, get a chance, but you have to be patient. It's only 20 minutes, but you still have to be patient. You're still gotta wait for them to, make a mistake or get him on the straight. He's just coming a bit close for, for comfort there.
Yep, we have some side-by-side Wilson and Pierce. Wilson having to drop back behind the fellow McLaren. Look at this. From 2nd to 7th, it's all McLaren. Gulzar is the only outlier in the Honda, and he's got 2.5 seconds down to Sanchez, who has been losing
it's more like
time.
3.
Oh yeah, bro, 2.5, 3, and it's about 3. Eduardo Sanchez about a 10th slower on that last lap than Page. Page, a driver that, again, I have a lot of experience racing with, just incredibly talented, and I don't think it'll be too long before we see a move, although it looks like something might have happened, and that gap has opened right back up. So from just about a 10th to 6/10ths or so back is this gap. We'll keep an eye on that. Spencer Weldon, also for Achieve Esports, side by side. Thomas Pierce down into turn number 1, but Pierce tries to stick it around the outside. We'll have the inside for the next corner. There's a drift and a little bit of a love tap there. Weldon gathers it up, keeps himself going in the right direction. Wilson, of course, waiting to see if there's any scraps. Briscoe as well, but Pierce somehow staying ahead there of Weldon after that short little explosion of action.
Certainly exciting, but you gotta say, he wasn't really in control as he's drifting around that. And when you're behind someone like that, it ruins your ability to get another run on him. Sort of unfairly, because you're worried they're gonna, crash into you. Now it is just racing, but it's interesting to see. On the other hand, you do know that when they're doing that, you've got them frazzled. You're probably in their head. You're probably gonna get them. Like right now, we can just watch. No, he backed out. That's
interesting.
Surprising.
I think he could have maybe made it stick. It would have been very close, but I don't know. I think maybe there's sort of the issue you talked of earlier about the rust and shaking it off. So possibly that's why he backed out. But for Pierce, that's very good. For Wilson, that's also very good. That'll pull him right back into the mix for P6. But I don't think I'd say these 3 are really done all that much.
Yeah, Pierce is certainly the cork in the bottle here. Everyone behind him for a couple places within a second of the person in front, they're all going to get slipstreams and catch right up. But, Pierce he's fast, but he seems just a little bit out of sorts.
Yeah, I think he might be a little hesitant, a little bit nervous of the start of the season. I just looked at the name of Tommy Kogan's livery. I'm not happy. Oh,
Yeah.
goodness. We accept all weebs into OR. But anyways, so things have really settled down up until 4th position. Goals are long gone. Eduardo Sanchez trying to close the gap as best he can. Hunter Page just sitting there and wait. Rasco doing his own thing, and then there's a pretty good gap. Tommy Kogan has gotten around Jonathan Steele, and that's also going to bring Spencer Brown into the picture here. Oh no, Spencer Brown has gotten around. What in the world? Has John Steele just lost 2 positions? No, he hasn't. I can't read. Which is not surprising.
I didn't know if that was a lag or something. Maybe that's where.
Oh, that might be
around.
It might be lag. I don't know. We had some laggy disappearances. So now let's see what's going on. Oh goodness. Andrew Wilson, a lot of pressure there. Briscoe trying to make it work down the inside. I don't think there was enough grip there. And that does also pull Lanham, one of the new drivers here in the OR. But he backs out, although sticking with the inside, he could get this move done. Trying to get it done on the veteran, but they're still side by side here. The inside line belongs to Briscoe. But somehow Lanham finds the speed and gets around up into P8. Wilson holds on to 7th. Beyond that, it's John Steele trying to pick up some more positions here, but we're just about halfway through. I don't want to call anything yet, but you never know. These could be all set in stone.
Watching Paul Ricard, especially watching the other, EU and AP, that one area from signs all the way as you slow down and go 5th, 4th, 3rd into the, final sort of decreasing radius turn, it seems like outside is almost the best line, which is just not what I would normally think if I looked at, those sort of turns. But because Paul Ricard allows you to go 6 or 7 miles outside the lines.
Yep.
Well,
it's kilometers. Remember, we're in Europe, so it's got to be kilometers.
Yes. But yeah, you don't have to worry too much about drifting wide. So if you stay on the outside, you can take a little bit more of your time braking, and it's so much scarier being on the inside of a turn like signs.
That's true. Yeah, I remember when I had to race here, that was sort of the one spot I didn't really want to be in, but I just found myself in such a predicament, and there wasn't much I could really do other than, at that point, the less skill I had was pray. Right now, Keith Briscoe praying that he can fight back and regain P9 from John Steele as we head down this very long, boring back straight. But I'm not quite certain, and just ahead land him in the slipstream of Wilson, but that BMW, not a lot of top end.
Yeah, there's a couple nice packets of fighting here. If you look back a little bit, looks like Wheeler's got Boar in tow that just came down the main straight. I almost said Mulsanne.
No, not quite Mulsanne, but you're right. You're right there. We're getting there. No, this little pack though, this is looking good. Yeah, from Brown down to the Aston Martin of, I believe that's Thompson. Yeah, it is. So, we've got got Marquez there, sort of phasing in and out of reality. Maybe stuck in the Matrix a little bit. But this is looking very, very good right now for this pack here. Lawrence Lantham, he's lost some time to Wilson, but John Steele with that slipstream down the front straight, and he's not going to be close enough for a move, but if he can keep this gap, we should be seeing a swap for position at the maybe before the tail end of the back straight. What do you think?
They've been really cautious. In times when I think that they're definitely going to take it, they've been backing out, so who knows. But what I did just see was yellow for a couple seconds on the race flag there. I don't know where it is. I'm trying to find if someone dropped, but somebody had an issue.
Number 77, it looks like. That's Darren Wicks. I think he might have just lost the Audi. It was some tail damage on that. That's interesting. Platt into the pit lane there. 10-second penalty. I'm sure that's for a collision. Right now, John Steele just using that slipstream to gain any time he can. He's just side by side right now. It does get that job done. Just right in that final 2/3, I think. So yeah, he kept that gap as close as he could, and made the move when he had to, which was right there. And that's up into P8 for him.
Yeah, it's nice to see that they're not, swerving down that straight and trying to, break the toe so much. It's too dangerous.
Yeah, I think that's one thing the stewarding team really makes clear, is that weaving down the back straight is obviously not something we want to see. We don't even want to see it for the most part in a lot of these races, because that's obviously very dangerous, and the last thing we need is for someone to get taken out because someone is swerving. But these drivers, of course, are incredibly well versed in their sportsmanship and driving clean and fairly. It's not really something we have to even worry about, it feels like, half the time, because again, these guys sort of police themselves.
Yeah, it looks like Britton Thompson just came out of the final turn a little bit out of sorts. Get some opposite luck in there, slide over, get a couple style points,
Yep, we do. We have the awards ceremony right at the end for style points, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think so.
I never won anything, but that's okay. Right now, Hunter Page, despite the time that was made up to Sanchez, has not done a very good job of keeping that together, as it is Brian Rasco behind in the Monster Energy McLaren as we head down with the slipstream, but it's just not, it doesn't look like it's enough. And as I say that, of course, the slipstream shutting me up, so this could be a position lost here for the Canadian. As Brian Rasco, if he could get the move done, this could be 3 different nationalities in the top 3. Canadian, American, or Canadian, Mexican, and American in that order, and that it is. Hunter Page just giving up that position, and that'll welcome Pearson to the party. I'm sure not what was really part of the plan, but is what's going to happen if the pace is where it's at. He's got to start finding some time there.
Page definitely got spooked at the apex there. You could see he opened up the wheel and moved a little bit wide when he thought that Rasco was gonna slide off into him a little bit, and by doing that, he probably ran over a whole bunch of debris, and suddenly you've got Pierce coming up right behind, like you're saying. Just takes a little mistake to suddenly have to fight for a place that you had secured.
Yeah, that's the thing with racing that some people don't realize. Even new drivers tend to be like, oh, well, I can make a little mistake and it's okay. But as you get better and as you play against, or rather race against, more skillful opponents, you realize that those little mistakes add up rather quickly, and you start having a lot of problems. And like you just said, we saw it there with Page. Just one little, misinput is all it really takes for you to lose that position.
Yeah, and certainly a track like this has such a high pace to it. I mean, obviously you have a super long straight, but everything else is also carrying a lot of speed. There's only a few really slow turns. And that means that if you do mess up any of these high-speed turns, then your momentum drops, and that can take seconds off rather than tenths of seconds.
That's true, yeah, 100%. As we have some little tomfoolery in the background. But yeah, no, that is the thing, that even though there are, these gaps in times you see, especially with qualifying, even within those gaps, you do see those battles where it's like, oh, you said instead of it being, tenths, you're losing full seconds. So it's like no matter the skill level of these drivers, a little bumping and banging there, Marquez and Hasser. Anyways, back to what I was saying with, these different little speed groups that form, there's still, you see the impact of those little mistakes.
Yep. And especially when they're shoulders out like that and one person backs out, he suddenly invites, the car, the 2 cars coming up behind him. And it's not really his fault. He might have been on that run, but sometimes if someone's a little bit more aggressive or too aggressive, because, a little bit argy-bargy here is okay, but down the Mistral seems, it catches people out. I mean, hunted me pretty bad on my last lap of, or second to last lap of race 1. So you just don't like to see that sort of hit, which can sort of pit maneuver a car when they're at, what, 250, 260 kilometers an hour?
Yeah, roughly in that ballpark, I'd say. But I mean, even the big thing is when you have, like you said, you maybe have to evade a little bit, and you invite that second or third car in, is the frustration of that, because you had all that time to just slowly work your way up to the person in front of you, and all of a sudden that time is gone, and now the guys behind you are hounding you, and that can be pretty tilting, I'll be honest. And that really is what will separate the good drivers from the great drivers, is how do you handle that situation? Do you start making stupid decisions to try to gain that time you lost, or do you take a breath and say, all right, I know I'm quicker, it's just a case of can I get that time back before the end of the race and gain the position? Or should I just say, you know what, I'm not going to get this position back, it's better to just hold station and wait for the checkered flag?
Yeah, and I mean, it's always fun for these races when you have 2 or 3 really close together, is that you're going to that checkered flag in, a minute or 2 now, and that waiting, that patience you've had to wait for them to make mistakes sort of starts to, go away, but you really need that patience. Now is the probably most important time, because what you have to remember is the guy in front of you, he's probably been over driving. He's probably been nervous. His tires might be, completely worn out. If you just stay right on him, find a way to get a run in the last couple turns if you must go for the dive, but, now is the time to hold steady and not make a dive down something you're never going to make from 300 feet back. 100 meters?
Sure, I don't know. I don't use metric. Oh, Hunter Page has lost that, and there it is. That's what we talked about, these little mistakes, and that puts Thomas Pierce right up there into P4. Of course, it will be a top 5 finish for both of these drivers. Spencer Weldon just a little too far back to really put too much of a dent into things. But yeah, there it is. Just that little mistake, and that's the time lost. So now it's just a case of getting to the checkered flag. Of course, the checkered is out. We had just seen Golzar get ready to line up that final corner just a little bit ago. But, I mean, what a lead Golzar has. It's a lot. A lot. I know the in-game one says 8 seconds. I think we're looking at 8.7. So, yeah, I mean, Golzar is just sort of doing his own thing. It seems like just every single race. If you give him an inch, he's going to take the whole track.
Yeah. Is it the first 13 or 15 for the...
First 12.
12, okay.
So, yeah.
I was saying, like, right around the 14, 16 area, we got a drive-through, we've got 10-second penalties, so that whole section's going to mix up, but it's just outside where it really matters. So it looks like we have Kogan going for that pole for race 2.
Yep. And speaking of pole, Hamza Golzar starts on pole, ends on pole, race number 1. A driver we see so many times cross the line in P1. It's going to be a great way for him to start the season. Eduardo Sanchez bringing it home P2, and Brian Rasco P3 for him. Thomas Pierce getting around Hunter Page at the end, 4 and 5 for them. Oh no, wait, did Pierce run out of fuel? He's moving, he might have. Oh no, no, it was Rasco that cut around Page. Weldon and Pierce, okay. I don't know anything. John Steele 7th, Wilson's 8th, Briscoe 9th, and then Lanham 10, Brown and Kogan are rounding out the top 12, and then it's Marquez, Kaiser, Hasser, Wheeler. Thompson does get around Wheeler. Conway, Wicks, Parkinson, Bass, Luke, Parody. So yeah, it will be Tommy Kogan starting on pole, doing some donuts, it looks like, to celebrate a monumentous occasion, on a little kiss there from the BMW of, I can't quite see who that is. Oh, that's so sweet. Little kiss.
I wonder if that's Lanham, because I was going to say, he's amateur way up there. Look at P10. Not bad.
That might have been, I think.
I'm going to say maybe Pro-Am next time.
Possibly. There's
but
still
yeah,
time
we'll
for
figure
this
that
to
out.
change.
Only 2 manufacturers in the top 8.
Yep, that seems about right, and it isn't until you get to ninth where Briscoe finally breaks it up a little bit with the Mercedes, and then Lanham in that BMW for 10th. So, and then 2 Audis, 11 and 12. So, if you look at the top 12, you got a nice mix, but yeah, like you said, that top 8 is just 2 manufacturers. You get nothing.
Yeah, it looks like there's no Porsches left.
No Porky boys at all. Conway still technically on circuit, but that'll get moved up rather quickly. Once I don't know if it's the race director that moves people up or if it's just the in-game timer or whatever it is. But very good first race. Action at the start, lulled out pretty quickly. So I wonder if race 2 is going to follow that same sort of motion, or if we're going to get some action all the way around until the end.
Well, I mean, it's reverse grid. You sort of hope you don't get the same thing, because that's the point. But at the same time, like, that first race, that is what you want. Bunch of small pockets of good fighting throughout the whole time. It looked fun. It looked pretty clean, too.
Yep, I agree. So we're now into second qualifying. So as we talked about earlier, those top 12 drivers are going to be out on to the or they're going to stay into the pit lane. We're going to try to figure out who exactly is out first. I believe it's Ian Wheeler. So yeah, those top 12, they're going to stay in the pit lane. They're going to get reverse grid. First goes to 12th, second goes to 11th, third goes to 10th, so on and so on. Everybody from 13th and beyond, they are going to get 6 minutes to set the best lap that they can. So we're looking at maybe 2 laps, 3 if you're really quick. And that'll set up the rest of the grid for race number 2. So if you have a favorite driver you're looking at who's out on track right now, whatever position they end up in, just add 12 to it, and that's where you're gonna be at. Sam, how do you feel about the 6 minutes? Do you think it's a good change over last season, or do you think we should have stuck with, what was it, 7 or 8?
I think it's interesting when we do have enough drivers. You know, there's seems to be a couple who have left in this race, but when you have, you know, into the mid-20s, which we had trouble with some of the few seasons in the past, then that 6 minutes is just 2 or 3 people out there. I mean, me and Kevin Parody had like a one-on-one that was just comical.
Yep.
But now, when you actually do have a good set in those 6 minutes, yeah, it's a challenge again, you know, and I like that challenge, especially because you're qualifying with sort of a range that's closer to what you're able to do. So it also just makes you, you know, feel better as you see your place is somewhere in the top, let's say 5 or 8 instead of 25 or 28.
Okay, so you think it's a better change overall?
I think so. I mean,
Okay.
this is
Okay, I mean, it's
going
only the
back
first
to what it
race.
was, though, right?
Sorry?
This is going back to what it was before last season, though, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so, yeah, I guess either didn't work last season or it was too easy.
No, I think it also adds a bit of urgency, because, you know, when you have a, you know, 7 or 8 minute Q2, you know, you're maybe a little bit more lax, and you say, all right, well, you know, I can take a little bit more time to get things going. But when you only get at most 3 laps to set your best time, you know, that adds a little bit of excitement, I think. You know, obviously, if you're a driver, maybe you want an extra lap to make sure your tires and your brakes are up to temp. But, you know, for the most part, I think it's a fun little way of lighting the fire under the seat, if you will.
Yeah, it also is definitely, you know, track dependent.
Yep.
I mean, if you have a static amount of time and your laps are in the 2-minute range compared to like a 140 range, then you really do have to get out there and sort of just make it work. It ends up almost becoming like a hot lap super pole rather than going out there and having a couple tries. So, I mean, you know, next time when we're going to Bathurst, his 6 minutes is about enough to tiptoe around the hill so you don't die and then get one run in, you know?
Yep, that's true. Shoutouts to Hunter Page joining us in the chat. Always good to see you, of course. Great job. Good to see you back on the grid, as always. Hopefully someday we can get that Boatley back out on track. That would be a sight, I think. You know what? I'll join the rookie series in the Bentley. I could do that, right? I could just join rookies.
I don't think there are rookies this year. or this season.
I thought there was. They
For
lagged.
NA, I think we pulled them all into sprints.
Oh yeah, you're right. We did. You're right. 100%. All right. Well, next time then. Next time I'll do it.
But yeah, I mean, it is always fun to watch, like the AMG or the Boatley just completely destroy the curbs and not care about them, and then I go by with the tiny little 911 and I might have seen a curb and it's sideways.
Yep, that was the one thing when we were doing the Kyalami race. Is some of those curbs. You're just like, yes, of course. Bentley, are you hungry? And the Bentley's like, yes. And it's just like, all right, there's your snack. Get back out there.
Yeah, Cheetah just doesn't exist.
Wanted to bring it to the Bathurst, but my teammate refuses to drive left side. It sounds like someone is scared.
They can move their view.
Yeah. To be fair, I'm kind of okay with like driving on the right side, like because it's the Bentley, but also like I watch way too much of the V8 supercars, and I see way too much like inside shots on the right side, and it's kind of just burned into my brain. It's like, yeah, this is also okay. It doesn't have to be on the left side.
Well, it's interesting watching my first ever sort of season of GT racing.
Yep.
And seeing, the Bentley out there. There are just some tracks that is a benefit sitting on the right side.
Yep.
And it's sort of weird that, yeah, it's just weird that someone can kind of have that benefit because, I mean, it makes, obviously, it's the car that you're taking off the street and making into a race car, so that's really cool. But I imagine that's also something in racing that's a little bit tricky.
Yeah, it really is. But you know what? I'm surprised that the Bentley doesn't have like a little kettle in it, because it seems like, I mean, that's a very Bentley thing to do, I'd think.
Oh, I think you just pop the trunk and then someone drives up and gets you your stuff.
It's sort of like it's like Tour de France, where they have the little car on the side and it hands you like the water bottle, and then you drink and you pass it back in and you get back on with your day.
Yep.
But anyways, Wheeler finding himself P2 with a 55 at 38. Javier Marquez 54-64. It's going to be a tough nut to crack. Hasser 56-1. So we only have one driver in the 54s at the moment, and this man right here for Pulse Sim Sport is still on another flying lap, so does have the opportunity to improve. Won't say what the improvement is at the moment, of course, because we like to keep our mouth shut and I don't want to get blamed for anything. Braden Thompson there, P4 right now. Darren Wicks 6/10 back, and he is out of the final corner, just about half a second away, and now it's 6. Is it enough to overtake? It is. 5 thousandths of a second over Braden Thompson for P4 and quali number 2. Cody Platt in 6th, Bass in 7th, Luke in 8th, Parkinson in 9th.
Yeah, it's impressive to see Wicks get up there. I mean, he's got some quick pace, but Braden Thompson, like the last couple seasons, we've seen him probably be fighting the pros. And I mean, Wheeler in race 1 also was pretty far up there for being another amateur. So I think it's going to be really interesting to watch the middle of the pack for this race, because you're probably going to have Gulzar just disappear from the P1, from the best of the rest, I guess we'll say. But if anything happens, if anything slows down, they're going to be right there with him. So it looks like the weather is all optimum. Looks like the temperature is pretty much exactly what we were practicing, exactly what was in all of the practice servers. So it should be pretty easy. You just pick your setup and go. Now, of course, you do have 40 minutes in this race, so it is a bit more of a relaxed situation. You probably don't want to take that dive that you might have last race, but you probably shouldn't have anyway.
I mean, you also got, like you said, that 40 minutes. You can take that dive later. Obviously, I know last season and into this season, there's been, discussions internally with the drivers and the stewards and the governing body about, making sure we're really not dive bombing. I know that was sort of a gripe that the drivers had in previous seasons, and so far it's been actually pretty good. These drivers have been pretty well behaved. All things considered. Not a lot of dive bombs, only in, I'd say, very few circumstances have we seen that.
Yeah, I think the stewards were replacing their sticks with paddles.
Yeah, probably a nice, very wide paddle. Probably collect a few drivers in the mighty thwack. But we get to the last 60 seconds. Of course, quick shout-outs to none other than Simrigs. Thank you again for sponsoring another season of sprint racing action. Company based out of Melbourne. They've got all of Australia and New Zealand covered. And if you're outside of that, you can shoot them an email, and they'll be more than happy to work something out with you if it's in the cards. And, of course, if you're an OOR Patreon member, you do get 5% off your purchases. Sim racing gear, not cheap by any means, so I would highly suggest using it. But, again, thank you to Simrigs for their continued support here of the Sprint Series. And as a quick sort of refresher here, if you're maybe forgotten or maybe you're new here in the OOR, how the sprint, Super Sprint second race works is the safety car will peel away. Hopefully remembers to hit drive. We had that sort of not happen in EU, but once the safety car is away, the headlights are flashing. They probably heard me talking smack. The race director will start calling out that reverse grid, so they'll do it by the car number, and they'll pull ahead and they'll line up behind the safety car. And after they are all lined up, maybe we get a straight line, maybe we don't, who knows, then the rest of the field will be allowed to fall in line with the safety car. Do you like the BMW being the choice, or do you think we should have stuck with the Chevy?
I like the Chevy, but it's nice to see a change.
Yeah.
I like this BMW a whole lot more than the other one, though.
Oh yeah? Why is that?
It just looks like not so ugly.
All right, fair enough. We so far getting a nice straight line. We almost had some awkward side by side, but a little reverse gear is what's gonna back things up. All right.
Just want to point out, not that it matters, but back over on the helipad, for some reason the helicopter actually has its prop spinning, which is just that little, realism you really want to get here in this game.
Oh yes, of course, a lot of very real game, especially negative camber. Or remember that bug where the wheel would just start like spinning on the axle? You remember that?
I don't.
It was like all over Reddit for like a while, and then Kunos was just like, "Oh my god!" Kunos was like, "Guys, shut up, we're fixing it, okay?" And we're like, "All right, thanks." And then it got fixed.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while, you sort of reminded that it's a video game. Also, it's a simulation. It's got great physics, and even how difficult it is in ACC to keep track of your tire and tire pressures. They're such a big deal, and that's kind of a cool real world, almost one-to-one. But then at the same time, in a setup, if you're going full camber and full tow, that's just not realistic, and that's somehow how it works. So it's a sort of equal parts where someone has to know the game and someone can sort of know real driving physics.
That's true. That is true. One thing I want to mention that isn't part of the whole realism thing, but it's just sort of like a nitpick. Attention safety car driver, if you could throw your hazards on, please. Actually, hold on. No, he's in a BMW. He doesn't know what blinkers are. I just forgot.
He's just been flashing his lights every once in a while.
That's close. I mean, that's close enough to safety lights. No one can see them, but if it was a night race, maybe. Are we gonna have a night race this season? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't remember if that was talked about. I might have to check the schedule again. I think there's maybe one race that's a night race, maybe two. But
they tend not to at this level.
No, no. We had some before. We've had night races in the past.
Yeah, but I mean, in the last couple seasons, I haven't had any. Maybe they started late enough for some, sunset niceness, but not really racing in the dark.
I mean, heck, when I was in... Did I do a rookie race at Zolder? I did. No, I did a super sprint at Zolder. Or maybe it was a rookie race. Either way, it was dark. I did a night race at Misano. I think that was really it. But anyways.
Yeah, I'd love some.
Who knows? Maybe we'll you know what? Night race at Bathurst. Why not? Because what's more terrifying than the mountain? The mountain at night.
I
But
allow me because there's no lights.
yeah, you're right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Anyways, we're not on a mountain. We're on a plateau. It's race 2 here for North American Red Split. Kogan, Brown, your top 2 with that reverse grid. Lanham, Briscoe, Wilson, Steele, Pierce, Weldon, Page, Rasco, the top 10. Sanchez and Galzar round out that reverse grid top 12. And it's green, green, green. A great getaway from both of the Audis. Already you have the Honda there of John Steele getting a really good jump on Briscoe. And on the inside, Lanham will have that down to turn number 1. Things are going to get a little bit crazy, and there is some contact there in the background. It looked like some McLarens getting... There are 4 McLarens all mixed up with each other. I think 5. 5 McLarens? Am I reading that correctly? All coming together there right at the start and knocking each other out. That is absolutely not what you want. And we carry on, though. Can't really dwell on it too long. Tommy Kogan trying his best to pull away already at the start. Brown, Lanham have done an incredible job. Steele picks up a position over Briscoe at the start here. And there's a great big gap. Wilson with an Aston Martin of Hasser in his sights. He's got some speed, perhaps that power-up pellet charging the Pac-Man McLaren forward. And then behind them, Thompson. And I believe that's Kaiser. Kaiser, a new driver here around the outside. Wilson goes. Man, what a start we've already had. We've had a ton of contact. Weldon, Parody, Page, Sanchez, Pierce. The McLarens down at the back. What a terrible start, if I'm being totally honest.
What were you really going to say?
I try to keep it clean when I do these broadcasts. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I'm trying to be like, professional and not saying words that wouldn't be acceptable on national television. But you could probably take a couple stabs at it.
Yeah, one thing I wonder is, when you have these delayed starts because you have to wait to get in line, and then you're going slowly, and then the start is actually delayed, your tire pressures are way down because the tire temperatures are way down. So everyone breaking into turn 1, 3, 4 wide, that's just recipe for a parking lot.
Yep, and even with the, just the brake marker being a little bit obscured because you have another car in front of you, and that's what I think we saw. We had some very late brakes and people having to stand on it, and there's only so much those brakes can do, and once you lock up, I mean, that's sort of it. If you get to that point, good luck.
Yeah, definitely. It's always a tough skill to learn exactly when you need to let off a little bit and try to stay close in that braking zone. But, I mean, that's why a lot of us are here, and, we have amateurs and pro-ams. This isn't professional. We're not expecting everyone to be exactly on the tail the entire time.
That's true, and that's why I'm in the booth, so I don't have to worry about that. What does need to be worried about right now is Jonathan Steele getting that slipstream, getting that toe. I think we had 3 wide. We do. It's Kogan, Steele, and Brown at the end of the front straight. That was a little too close for comfort, but the Honda comes out on top. Somehow, Steele finding his way around Kogan. Brown trying to get a piece of the pie as well. Lanham very much in the picture. Wow, that was extremely close, though.
Yeah, I say it every season. One of the really impressive things for watching these sort of races is that it makes me have the same visceral reaction that I have when I watch real races, and I sort of go, oh no, like, he's so close, he's gonna hit, oh no. And it's that realistic, they are that close.
Lanham.
They are gonna punt him right there. Wait, he survived it? Wow.
As you're talking about those real reactions to real racing, we just have it. And I'm sure it's a far greater feeling, especially when you're in the car and you're driving and you just get into that immersion zone and you think, I'm not sitting in my basement on a sim rig, I'm in the race car itself.
Yeah, I mean, that also tends to get people pretty riled up too, right? I mean, you take it really seriously. You practice for weeks, months, whatever, for enduros, and then small things go wrong and it tends to overheat. But that is a lot of argy-bargy that apparently the BMW does not notice. I'm fairly certain it's been hit 4 times on this lap already, and he's still exactly where he started.
That's just the standard BMW not caring about anybody else mantra. you do your thing, and if they don't like it, too bad. I don't drive BMWs, but my brother does, and he sort of has the same sentiment. He's just out doing his thing. He doesn't care.
Well, anyways, what I was going to say, though, is, people get hot-headed and all that, but OOR is such a great community because usually that doesn't boil over. Usually you get out of it, say good race, and learn and come back, and that looks like a little bit of lag.
That was a little bit of lag. That's always the fun thing about this game. It sort of just locks you in your trajectory. But no, yeah, you're right, Lanham. That you just lost a position, but yeah, just been knocked around. Hasn't really done anything. Just sort of took it in stride. Yeah, the hits happen. Nobody's spun out. We're vibing. We're living. We're having fun.
And for an amateur, and he finished in the top 15, I think, in race 1, and now he's starting near the front, obviously, in race 2. So you've got an entire line of pro-ams and eventually pros coming all around you. It's what?
Disconnect.
Oh, he's there.
Javier Marquez. You might want to see if there's a ghost in your router. That was some spooky stuff. Let's hop back a little bit. Jonathan Bass right now with Rasco and, well, wouldn't you know it, Hamza Golzar. Hamza Golzar, despite finishing first, whoa, Bass is off, there it is. Despite finishing first, has not really made up as much ground as I would have thought, only picking up a position after that little excursion there from Bass.
He might have been right behind the McLaren parking lot and lost a bunch of time there.
Oh, that's true, he might have been, yeah, you're right. So that's probably why he's probably slow on the uptick. But
yeah, and also, if you're starting P12 because you won the last race, that doesn't guarantee that P11, P10 isn't someone who's close enough to your pace to at least defend really well. The fastest drivers can still be defended against by some other lesser speed drivers, we'll say. Not
guilty
lesser
as
drivers.
charged. That's how I did it. But that's why I'm in the booth now. But yeah, no, it's some of these drivers he's got to get through. Rasco, Thompson, incredibly quick. So, I mean, even with 30, just a little over 30 to go, it is possible that the comeback happens, but we don't know, as we see a little touch there from Lanham, giving Wilson a little bit of an elbow bump there. Probably not deliberate, but that does give him some breathing room. Keith Briscoe as well will take advantage of this and just barely pulls ahead right before the corner. A little bit loose there, but has kept it locked. Lanham, what a... I want to comment on the start, but I don't want to curse him, so I'll just say he's had a start. Listen,
yeah,
I told EU and I told NA, I'm like, hey guys, another season. I'll try to keep the caster's curse to a minimum, I promise.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm doing pretty good. Alright? I haven't said anything too egregious. Come on. Give me some credit.
But yeah, actually just a little bit back, it was really fun to follow Golzar because, a lot of people would have had that run in and sort of just stayed on the inside through signs, as dangerous as it is, but he backed out, even though we know he has the skill to make it through there. He backed out because there's time, because, he doesn't need to make that right then.
Yep, and speaking of backing out, Spencer Brown taking that same sort of sentiment. He knows that Javier Marquez has what appears to be a lot more speed, and that's one thing I think that we don't really sort of talk about too much, is just knowing that there's a driver behind you who's faster, so it's probably just better to let them through. Although, Brown making me eat my words, but, sometimes it's just better getting that faster driver through and, just dealing with what comes later. And we also see Brian Rasco door-to-door with Golzar here down the back straight, and I think Golzar might have had the run but just ran out of room.
In a track like this, though, sometimes it's not even that you're letting the faster driver by. If you make a mistake here or there, like we've talked about in the, earlier in the stream, is you can lose a second or two. So if you're losing that time and someone's coming up right behind you, if you don't fight them, you let them go around. Because of this track, you can just slipstream and probably find them again on the Mistral Straight the next lap.
That's true, yeah. That's where we see a lot, especially with sort of how technical this first sector is. cars with handling are really going to, are not struggle, but sorry, they're really going to shine there. You know, you have cars where there's a, you know, they're really good handling, but when it comes to the Mistral straight, they got nothing. But then you have something like maybe a McLaren or a Honda. Maybe it does a little bit of both really well. And that's what Gulsar's doing. So yeah, he's sort of just biding his time.
Well, you know, when you see people who are really good in cars like the Porsche, and you see them going fast down a straight like that, you can pretty much guarantee they've got almost no downforce because they can handle that. And, you know, sometimes if you think you can handle it, that's when you're going to lose and hit the wall and flip over. And it's just, but yeah, I mean, seriously, that's one of those things you have to figure out in your practices. You know, are you willing to risk a little bit less downforce around the rest of the track just to make up a few kilometers an hour down the straight? How much time do you lose down the straight doing that? And even if it's not time, you know, because sometimes it's not about you losing tenths or whatever down the straight. It's about the fact that it's one of the only places you can overtake easily, right? If you're not that high up of a driver, you can overtake down a straight, but if you just can't even catch somebody, even in their slipstream, then there's nothing you can do the whole race. You're just going to be on their tail and pushing, and then watch them disappear every time they get a little bit of a horsepower bump.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, with these cars, there's no active arrow. You can't say, okay, well, when I get to the end of the straight, I'm going to, you know, get myself some more downforce so I can, you know, grip that right-hander better. You have your setup. You have to find that balance. Or, like you said, just say, you know what, I'm going to run no arrow so I can gain some time on the straight. Or, you know, it's a balancing act. That's what we're seeing with all these setups, and you know how everybody chooses to sort of attack the same problem. And even within the same cars, you know, we've got a bunch of McLarens, but I guarantee you the setup is a little different. Oh, hold on, we've got some, I think, some unhappy headlights from Javier Marquez. He's in 5th place right now. I think there may have been some contact with Tommy Kogan?
No, Kogan's up front. Might have been Lanham.
Maybe, possibly. I don't know. It's I just saw Marquez going slow and flashing the headlights. So maybe, yeah, maybe got moved to Lanham. A little bit of a wiggle there.
Yeah, you don't want to see that down the straight.
No, definitely not. It's dangerous for everybody, but for the person who's going left and right, I mean, how long is it before the car decides, hey, I'm going to go see that wall up close?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do if someone's coming up in your slipstream, you know, trying to juke them out or you know, put a dummy on them, especially at this stage in the race, is just way more dangerous than it's worth.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's a time and a place to sell a fake, and the back straight is not where you want to do it. Lanham's having a lot of trouble right now. He's been very consistent, but now it seems like he just can't keep this BMW like under control.
Well, it's, you know, that sort of problem I talked about earlier, where you're in the front of a pack that you're fighting to defend against, you know, because you're an amateur in front of all these pro-ams that finished in front of you in you know, the race before. When you're defending that hard, even in the first 15 minutes, you can destroy your tires. You can, you know, not even destroy them, but you can put too much heat into them, and then you're spinning around or just sliding around for a whole lap, and you lose a bunch of places. So there is some of that strategy of being able to defend while not overdriving.
Yeah, that's true. It's a skill that definitely comes with time. I remember when I started, it was all about, you know, just be quick, who cares about tires? But as I, you know, slowly came to grips with how ACC, you know, does what it does, I learned to, you know, slow down a little bit, just take it easy. Obviously not, you know, coast through everything, but being able to recognize when you need to, you know, just treat the car nicely and when you need to maybe overdrive it a little bit, I can't even tell you a time frame as to when you really get a hold of that.
Well, one of the things that you learn in sort of real world performance driving is that there's this curve usually that sort of just imagine, sort of a horsepower curve essentially looks like that, but all the way leading up to the peak is when you're learning, and you're never really on the limit of the car. You're never really getting to the point where you're side slipping on purpose. But then when you learn how to side slip on purpose, which is a faster, way to go around some turns, you end up going over that peak, and now you're overdriving, and you have to sort of bring yourself back to the middle, well, not the middle, to that peak I'm talking about, and that's where the pros are. So if you look at races like this where we have AMs, pro-AMs, and pros, the AMs are probably not at their limits every single turn. The pro-AMs may be somewhere between that and overdriving, and then the pros are just perfectly on it.
Yep, and I think that sort of spot the pros sit in might change a little bit. Hold on, we've got Brian. We've got 3 wide. Hold on, that looks to have been really interesting and beautifully done. Rasco sort of setting up goals over there. Yeah, sort of set him up for that. A little double kill there for both of them, and that's going to leave Thompson with some work to do. Gulzar thinks about it, round the outside, doesn't have the room for it, and that'll bring Kaiser up, one of the new drivers here. So far, top 12 finish for him. If this was race number 1, he'd be sitting P1, but that's not the case. But anyways, back to the whole overdriving thing. I feel like when the occasional balance change comes out, I feel like sometimes you have to find that peak again, especially when it's a car that's extremely good that gets nerfed a little bit to maybe bring it back in line. I'm sure that's something all of these pro drivers absolutely love, and we gotta just really talk about Rasco and Gulzar still going at it. 2 incredibly talented drivers, showing you exactly what it means to find that peak of performance while at the same time maintaining respect for one another.
Yeah, there's got to be something in the McLaren having just a little bit of an edge over the Honda and down that straight, or maybe even in their tune, because you can see Gulzar catching and sort of getting right up against his bumper, right up against his rear flank around some of these turns. But the times we've watched them go down the Mistral and come into the end, he just has not been able to get in a position where you're really, pushing the other guy out of the way, and he's had to back out every time so far. He tried it on the inside, he tried it on the outside. It just doesn't seem like he's got, the legs to really do it without a good run out of the turn before.
Yeah, it's interesting, and you have to look at the other McLarens and how they're set up, because it's these subtle differences, and it changes depending on how the driver will handle the car. Are they a little bit more aggressive? Are they a little bit more reserved? Are they somewhere in the middle? Does this camber feel better than this one? Is it this arrow you need? It's a lot of these small little details that can separate each driver from the same car, and even just between different cars, as we see Gulzar finally getting around Rasco.
Yeah, that was probably one of the only places he was going to do it.
Yeah, probably. Let's give some love around the field a little bit. Kevin Parody, obviously a driver who was here last season, commentator the season prior to that, running P17 right now with Sanchez, and then we have Bass separating them from the 2 other McLarens, Hunter Page and Spencer Weldon. After that first little bout of boxing, they've been doing what they can, and it's just like, as I'm looking around, Brian Rasco is dealing with Kaiser, who has gotten around, so he is in P10. So, man, this is really like, it just seems to be like when there isn't action, we got a lot to talk about, but then like we go check something else, and then all of a sudden Rasco's like, hey guys, hey, I'm right here. Let's look at me now.
Well, this is one of those situations that you see a lot where, like I was talking about, how one driver may not be at the same skill level as the other, but he can defend really well. So he just, that cork in the bottle of, Gulzar for the first 20 minutes, having, Rasco right in front of him.
Ooh, hold on. We've got, who is that? That's Wilson. Looks like he got a better exit out of the final corner. However, Hasser has recognized this and sticks to the inside. There's Hamza Golzar looking for a little bit of a door to squeak on through. Doesn't quite find it, pulls back just about halfway here in this race. And now Hasser has a lot more to deal with than just a McLaren. He's got the defending champion of last season on his inside. Does this move get done? No, it doesn't.
No, but you're going to see Gulzar and Rasko move through. I mean, like I said, cork in the bottle, it's been unleashed now that Gulzar's passed. And then Rasko can just follow him through. I mean, he's probably not going to pass Gulzar. We know that. But you just follow him through towards the front, you know, and play some slipstream game. Let him help you. Don't try to fight back for that position you lost.
No, just let it be. You've had your fun. Now it's about maintaining what you have. And look at this side by side for both of them. And Gulzar in the slipstream. Hold on. This could get very, very scary here. Gulzar's looking for a gap that might not exist. Rasko back into the party. But he's on the outside. And just as he's, you know, lost all that time to Gulzar, he's right back with them. Because Gulzar went for a gap that closed right up. And he had to just lift and lost all that speed on the back straight.
Yeah, that's a really difficult decision to make when you're going down there at 250, 270 kilometers an hour. You're catching someone so quickly, but there's 2 or 3 in front of you. Do you let off, or do you just jolt out to the side? And you see Rasko went way out to the side, and you see Gulzar kind of just let off. And then suddenly you've got this tight pack again, because you're catching in the slipstream, but you can't catch in the turns.
Yep, that's true. It's also that secret third option of you just keep going, you just hold your line, hope for the best. Not that I would ever do that. But once again, it is Gulzar trying to find a way around Hasser. Down into turn number 1, he's on the racing line, but the problem is he's not going to be fully on the racing line. Does have the inside for the next corner. Does he finally get around the Aston Martin? Yes, he does. Runs it a little too wide, but manages to hold on. And there's Rasko looking for something that he can play with. Down the inside, there's some contact. Rasko, oh no, Rasko spun himself. Rasko spun himself. All that work he's been doing has been ripped out of his hands as he finds himself down in P14. That is huge.
I was going to say, I've been really impressed in the last few minutes with Hasser. I mean, he's been just keeping it safe as they go too wide through these turns and those turns, or slamming on his brakes just in enough time to not hit, you know, the guy in front of him while these pros are around him. He's really been keeping it clean and safe in some dangerous situations. But I think as we might have just missed it there, he and Rasko must have come together a little bit and the safety ended.
Yeah, there was just a little bit of contact right before they could sort of panned over. And we see Weldon getting around Page just now. But yeah, it's just decision making. It looked like, whoa, a little bit of drift action there. No, it's Rasko just saw something that maybe wasn't quite there, and you saw how quickly it went south. And now he's down in 14th.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking about how you can, you know, follow someone faster through to the front, but the problem that creates is sometimes you try to follow when that gap for 2 of you is just not there.
That's true, yeah. It's never an easy situation to be in.
Well, you see it a lot in multi-class racing. I mean, look at like the Daytona 24 hours when you've got a prototype coming through and another prototype following him. Sometimes the GT cars don't see, and then you have a GT prototype crash. This is sort of like that, because the speed differential down the Mistral Straight, if you're in that tow, can be pretty similar to the difference between high-level classes like that.
Yep. Page 15 seconds, Hasser a drive-through, goodness. But yeah, Daytona 24 is a very good example of that. That's been an event that's had a lot of coverage around it in the sim racing sphere.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
No, let's not. We'll focus here at Paul Ricard. And we also have 10 seconds for Conway, so we do have the bot working, which is very nice. I love it when the bot's off vacation because it tells us what happened. So let's take a peek. Of race 1 penalties, blah, blah, blah. All right, Hunter Page has a 15-second for a collision on lap 1. If I'm a betting man, that's probably the bowling incident we saw. Sean Conway, lap 2 penalty gets him 10 seconds. and then a drive-through as well. So that's just unfortunate. Whoa, sideways for Wilson.
Held it though.
Incredible. Yeah, that was beautifully done. Obviously not part of the plan by any means, but it worked out pretty well. Goals are up into 6th, though. Sorry, 7th.
It's a whole bunch of offset lock and, you know, just warming your tires up as you go sideways.
Oh, is that what they call it? Warming the tires up? All right, we'll
yeah,
take
of course.
it. Oh, yeah, right, you're right. But
I wonder if those drive-thrus are real drive-thrus, though.
For track limits?
Yeah, I mean track limits, or if they'll be knocked down or something.
Well, Conway's is a penalty given by the stewards. Like that, if you look at the penalty bot in the Discord, it is for a collision. Hasser's though is completely self-inflicted from the from just track limits.
Well, I wonder if Conway was the instigator of the parking lot.
Maybe. I did see Paige though pick up 15, so that might have been him. Ooh, Lawrence Lanham, a little bit of a flash to Golzar. We saw some argy-bargy there at the start-finish straight. I don't know, elbows out racing, but I don't know. Whoa, oh, we've got the number 93 around. That is Spencer Weldon, and we've got, is that Raska? What is going on? Everybody's spinning out.
Yeah, it takes a spin or two. You damage your tires enough, and, well, it might just end up making you spin again and again if you don't take it easy. You've got to cool them down. You might have flat spots. You know, this is somewhat realistic, you have to remember.
That's true, yeah. So, let's see. Eduardo Sanchez, 10 seconds on a collision lap 1. Parkinson, 10-second lap 4 collision. So, drivers just getting a little too comfortable, a little too cozy with each other, but this has really mixed things up a lot, because now we have drivers running in, you know, heck, the top 12, who, I don't want to sound too rude, but it might not be up here otherwise. So this is great stuff from a, you know, a spectator standpoint. Obviously from a driver standpoint it's a little bit different, but a nice change of pace.
I don't know. It looks like the top 12 is more or less what they were in the last race. You know, there's a lot of those pro-ams because, like I said, there's such few pros in this race, and we've got a, you know, amateur here or there, a pro-am here or there that maybe is a little bit outside of what their ranking is. So, you know, when you see people like Braden Thompson and, you know, Lanham now, and definitely Kogan way up there, those guys, they're, you know, out shooting their own rank.
That's true. Spencer Brown picking up 15 seconds. Collision lap 7. So yeah, the penalties coming through eventually. Tommy Kogan right now has Javier Marquez behind. Javier, a new driver here in Sprint Series, running in P3 right now. Very good stuff from him. Has been on a charge. So it's good to see new faces up there.
This is very impressive from Kogan, you know, because he started P1 from the reverse grid. It looks like his car is just that much. The Audi is faster than BMW. I mean, because look how long it took for Marquez to catch him here.
Yep, on the inside line, it looks like that, wow, just scared him right off of it. Just held it. Oh, and we've got a Mercedes off. Oh, that's a blue flag. Okay, never mind. But no, what a... Yeah, like you said, doesn't have as much speed as the Audi, but it's sort of just the mind games, and it worked out beautifully.
Well, also, I mean, Marquez has the fastest lap, and he's had that for at least the last 20 minutes. So, I mean, he's clearly able to throw that BMW around when he needs to.
Yep, 55.28.2 is your current purple lap. The only person that's really close is Jonathan Steele, a 55.47. That's, again, just about 0.2 off. And after that, you're getting towards the tail end of the 55s, and you get into the 56s, and, well, at that point, it doesn't really matter. But, I mean, he's... this, I think, is a driver that we really do need to pay attention to this season. I think he's going to be making quite a splash here in North American Sprint. And if we do end up having the sort of those finals later on in the season, I will not be too surprised if we find him racing in that.
Yeah, that would certainly be a a good bet. I would take it.
Yeah, I think it will. We'll talk with Mullock. We'll try and make it happen because I think that would be quite a spectacle. Have some of the best drivers in North America, blue and red splits in one server. You are bound to have some rather chaotic and tight racing.
Yeah, but it actually brings up, 55 is pretty slow for a fastest lap considering, some of the EU and AP aliens were in the 53s in the race. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be there, but still, a 55 seems a bit far off.
Yep. That 52 we were talking about earlier, 52.5, was by Felipa. If I'm not mistaken, I think that might be a pretty quick name down there in AP. But I mean,
she had the 53 in the race.
Ah, there you go. And we struggled to get to a 54. So, what can you do? Wilson under attack from Page, but it is 15 seconds. It doesn't really matter. Keith Briscoe hounding Spencer Brown doesn't really need to because of the 15-second penalty. It doesn't matter. You take that spot regardless.
Yeah, definitely don't do anything dangerous here. Race him hard, but make sure every single time you come into a braking zone that you are just not going to cause any sort of, not even just a hit, but you don't even want to scare a guy who's got 15 seconds like that, because it's not worth it. You've already got it. Find a way around him cleanly, but otherwise there's no point in really pushing the envelope.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. When I was running in sprint and I noticed there was someone ahead of me that had a time penalty, I was just like, listen, could I be faster than them? Am I faster than them? Sure. Do I want to be? No. So I'll just sit here. I'll wait out the time. If the gap is big enough, of course, to the person behind me, I can just sit there and wait. But, for the most part, assess the situation, figure out how close the person behind you is, and decide whether you want to get around that person with the penalty or if you just want to stay there.
Yeah, one thing that happens too is when people have penalties or when you're closing in on someone near the last couple laps is that you get distracted by looking at that time differential, right? So Brown might think, oh, okay, 15 seconds, does that put me in 7th, 8th, 9th? Maybe I should race, harder or whatever.
Oh, Chris
and you
Platt.
Go around like that.
I don't, that might have seen, let's try to get an overhead. I think that, I don't know. That might just be self-inflicted. I don't think that was Sanchez.
I think he wasn't going to brake and make that turn, no.
No, it looked like he sort of just drove into the McLaren. But we're just commentators. We're not the stewarding team. We'll let them deal with it, and we'll continue talking.
Oh, that certainly wasn't egregious by any means, but,
No.
It's just tight racing, and he wasn't going to be able to make that turn very nicely either.
Yeah, I just don't want to get caught up in the whole, hey, why are you making calls? And you don't even know. I think it's just, no, I think it's fair because the stewarding team, they work so incredibly hard. When it comes to looking at these incidents, you might say, oh, well, I saw this, so clearly it's how it must be. We try to give you a couple camera angles to work with, but the thing is they have to look at a lot of factors when it comes to these incidents. Even if it's something minor and you think, oh, it's a racing incident, they're still going to look at every single thing. I would say if you want to really get into the whole, stewarding thing and try to see what it's like and just how difficult it can be, head over to Sim Racing Stewards on Reddit and just try it. Don't look at the comments. Just look at the situation and say, okay, what would I say? And that'll give you sort of a feel. It won't give you, exactly what the stewarding team at Octane Online Racing does, but it'll give you a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, we should always thank and praise those who are volunteers and such a great job here. But for a commentator, you gotta have a little bit of drama, and that drama comes from saying, what, that was a terrible call.
Yep.
Of course that was his fault. He was way over the line. So, they won't take it personally. You can yell and make some of your own calls.
That's true. That is very, very true, but I don't want to do stewarding. Commentating is way too much fun for me. I would, as much as I like being able to, look at an incident and say, all right, who is going to be the one that gets punished for this? It's like, I just want to call it. I just want to see things happen. I want to describe things that are happening because it's fun. And what's happening right now is Hamza Golzar possibly getting onto the podium. He is sitting behind Spencer Brown, who does have 15 seconds. We talked about it earlier. We actually used Brown as the example. Where are you going to end up?
Briscoe got past him, though.
Yeah, he did. So Golzar has to get around. And of course, when you look at top speed and you look at acceleration, obviously the Honda's going to come out on top over the Audi every single time. So now it's Golzar having to wait and pick his moment. Spencer Brown parks it on the middle. And almost into the back there is Golzar. But if this gap can stay the way it is, we could be seeing a standard slipstream pass, although Golzar on the inside later on the brakes. Is he gonna make it work on the inside? Somehow does, but outside for the next corner, but inside after that. He's cleared Brown, and now he has to get up to Briscoe. 4 minutes, 15 seconds. Can Golzar find his way onto the podium by then?
Can I breathe again?
No, you're not allowed to. Breathing is
that was
for
just... Ooh, that was a tight one.
That was very, very close. I thought there might have been some contact through the left-right, or the right-left-right, excuse me. But these two guys kept it oh so clean. Golzar, especially, week in, week out, every season, he's like, yep, I am your typical Canadian. I am very polite about things, and his racing is definitely one of them.
Well, it's even, it's not really his or other really fast drivers' fault sometimes when they're coming up on another driver and their own skill level means that they can brake, at this late point or turn in here. And the person in front of them may not be able to do that, or may just be, distracted. So they brake a little bit earlier, they turn a little bit harder, and now suddenly your super fast alien is punting somebody out of the way because they just didn't expect it.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's what it seemed like when Golzar came right up his tail.
No, you're absolutely correct. I agree with that 100%. I think that's exactly what happened. I think you're completely right. So here we go, 3 minutes. Golzar just about a second back on Briscoe. Last lap for Briscoe, a 58 or 56.8. Golzar exactly the same time, but you have to remember that was because he was battling with Brown a little bit. So now that he's got some clean air to work with, can he close it up here with 2 laps remaining, would you say?
Where's the lead?
Jonathan Steele currently is getting onto the Mistral straight. Is now on the Mistral
might
straight.
be 3.
Might be 3. All for Keith Briscoe, if he's listening in. I think that's sort of the last thing he wants to hear is, oh great, I gotta do 3 laps instead of 2. Look at how close Golzar is already. Look at how close he is. He's chipped away. He's half a second and onto the Mistral straight with the slipstream in the Honda compared to the Mercedes. Door to door by the end, maybe. He's pulling in extremely close. We could maybe see a move done by the time he gets to it, and this just goes to show you how much of a threat this guy is on track. You give him any amount of clean air, and that's going to be it. He's going to get around you in no time, and there it is. Hamza Golzar sitting on P3 with a minute 38. It's going to be
set that up really well.
He did. He set that up beautifully. Like I said, he gets around Brown. That was the only thing. You talked about it earlier. Once that cork has been removed, Golzar is gone.
Yep, but, while you're back there, while you're behind someone like that, it does end up creating this huge gap at the front. Look at that. He just got around everybody, but now he's got 7 seconds or so to the next. You're not going to make that up in a minute.
Be careful, Sam. You know what powers you possess, right?
Yeah, well, there was just a yellow flag, so
Andrew Wilson's in the pits. Oh, there might be some terminal damage there on the McLaren. Not what he wants. So oh boy, they should add that, or at least make that an option. But no, we're on to the final lap here. Jonathan Steele just has had absolutely nothing to worry about. You know, the start was a little dicey, got through that easily. Tommy Kogan as well had some battles and eventually fell back, and Hamza Gulzar there started P12. Almost got involved with the McLaren mishap early on, right at the start. Had to sort of brake to keep himself from getting collected, and just ever so slowly picked his way through the field. Now P3, he's opening up a gap to Briscoe already just about 2 seconds.
Lenham can stay in front of Kaiser. He's going to finish up in P5, I think.
Yeah,
That's
he will.
impressive.
Yep, top 5 for Lanham, but he's got about half a lap to do it. Kaiser with the slipstream in the Audi. What does he do? Look at the speed difference. Lanham, that might have just been the killing blow.
You got nothing there, but luckily that's only a couple tenths, so he may not be 5th, but he's still gonna jump over those 2 penalty cars. So that's still impressive. From, I think he was he 10th or either?
I believe.
Something like, I think he was 10 in first one. Yeah, so you know he's improving in the 40-minute race with all those faster drivers, potentially faster drivers coming up behind you.
Yep, but ladies and gentlemen, Jonathan Steele is going to pick up the win here. It's not going to be back-to-backs for Gulzar. Jonathan Steele on the top step of the podium. Tommy Kogan, an impressive P2 for him. Runs it right under the flag. Hamza Gulzar, 12th on the grid because of the reverse order. Makes it P3. Briscoe just missing out. And then Spencer Brown, 5th. Hunter Page, 6th. However, those penalties come into play, so Kaiser will pick up a top 5 finish. And it will be Lanham with that P6. Weldon will have to just settle with 9th. And Rasco, a very messy race for him, comes home with a top 10. Braden Thompson in 11th. Looks like Jonathan Bass has done what he can and held off Sanchez, 12. And Sanchez will probably get booted down a few positions. And it's Parody, Hasser, Platt, Darren Wicks, Conway, Wilson, Parkinson, Wheeler, and Luke. But yeah, these drivers getting across. What a second race we had.
Yeah, who do you think your driver of this race is? Because I gotta say, I think we expect Gulzar to be that good, but Kogan went P12 in race 1, and then in this reverse grid was able to hold on to P2. I think that's pretty impressive.
Yep, I'd have to 100% agree with you. That was quite the monumental task. I'm sure he was looking at Gulzar and saying, all right, I got to deal with this guy. This is going to be tough. You know, Gulzar is, you know, not someone you scoff at, but yeah, going from 12th in race 1 and then holding on to P2 all the way to the end with, you know, the pressure that was exerted on him. I agree with you. I would give Kogan driver of the day.
Yeah, and Kogan also owes at least a beer or so to Rasco, because he held up Gulzar for most of the first half.
Yep, the Minister of Defense apparently is switching countries and cars, but that's gonna do it for us here tonight with North America, and we just wait for the server to sort of turn over before we can take a look at the final standings. But man, what an evening we had here. And I mean, if this is anything to go off of, I think season 12 is going to be nothing but action.
Yeah, it's really nice to be back in it, you know, shaking all the cobwebs and the rust off tonight. Still had good racing, so that means it's just going to get better from here.
Absolutely, but there it is. We have been moved on up, so let's take a final look at the standings. So race number 1, it is Gulzar on top ahead of Sanchez and Rasco. The Pro-Am category, Sanchez, Page, Weldon. It is a McLaren 1-2-3 for those guys. And then in the amateur class, Lanham takes home bragging rights ahead of Wheeler with that 10-second penalty, and Wicks is position number 3. Race 2, of course, Jonathan Steele on top. Tommy Kogan and Gulzar join him on the podium. It's Pro-Am, Pro, your 1-2-3. In the Pro-Am category, it's a bit different. It's Kogan, Briscoe, and Kaiser, an all-German manufacturer lineup, 2 Audis and a Mercedes. And then for the amateur class, we've got Lanham, Platt, Wicks. And I also forgot to check the silver rating drivers. It's Parkinson and Conway for race 1, and then Conway, Parkinson. Looks like we had a little bit of a trade of position. And of course, the safety car in a class of its own. What an amazing little piece of machinery. But yes, That's it.
I did not see what happened to Marquez. It looks like he finished a few laps down. He was fastest lap. He was fighting up there.
Yeah, 3 laps down. I'm wondering, damage maybe?
Maybe. I mean, I thought maybe he might have been one of the ones that we were seeing lag a little bit, but yeah, he is. He still got the fastest lap, and he was fighting, way up there near the top. So something had to happen. We missed.
I don't know.
Might have been that yellow.
Yep. But that is going to do it for us tonight. There's a week off until the next race at Bathurst. Of course, a non-competitive round, so points don't matter, and we're just there to have fun. Sort of like whose line is it anyways. But, yeah, we hope to see you all there. AP, EU, and NA. And then we also have the Bathurst 12-hour event coming up for the endurance race, guys. So make sure you check that out before we go again. Of course, one quick final thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 12 of the OOR Sprint Series. Talked about them enough. Melbourne company, Australia, New Zealand, you're covered. Outside of that, email is what you're going to be using to get some of those deals worked out. OOR Patreon members, you get 5% off your purchases. Obviously, make use of that. Very good deal. But again, thank you, of course, to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 12. But Sam, closing thoughts?
It's just good to be back. It's nice to get into something that's intense in my races, and then I get to sit and watch races after and commentate on them. It just feels good.
I think it's fair. It's always nice to have someone who's on track in one race and then in the booth the next. I know a couple seasons ago we had you and Kevin Parody in the booth. That was always a lot of great insight. But yes, that's going to do it for us tonight. What a great race we had. If there's anything to go off of, I think it's going to be a very hectic season overall. But ladies and gentlemen, until next time, on behalf of myself, Sam Raworth, and everybody here at the OOR, we'd like to thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed your stay. We're back again next week at Bathurst for a regular old sprint, 1 hour of racing there. But until next time, stay safe, stay beautiful, and make sure you avoid that lap 1 carnage.